10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
PokerStars announces the World Championship of Online Poker.
$2.1 million.
More than 10,000 players.
33 events this year.
And for the first time, $1 million score. WCOOP 2009, what a
Over
year.
$2.2 million for first. That's
The
insane.
taxi driver who satellited in takes home $1 million. Crown-up guy is the world
This kid is
champion.
one to watch.
Sean Deeb consistently crushing WCOOP.
What a lineup.
Adrenaline 7105 titles in one series. And it's PT Fisherman who reels in the main event trophy.
2021, the year of Talal.
WCOOP is still the title every online player wants to win.
This is where world champions are made.
Welcome once again to the PokerStars Arena and the 2022 World Championship of Online Poker. It is day 3 of WCOOP. It's day 2 of our live cards up coverage. And it's another 5K buy-in event, another progressive knockout with 9 players remaining from the 99 who started competing for 53.5 grand and those all-important bounties. We'll crown another champion tonight. The we being me, James Hartigan, and my friend and colleague, Mr. Joe Stapleton.
Hello, my babies!
So, Joe, it wasn't the plan to go back-to-back PKO. Originally, we were going to show the final table of the Sunday Million, but it seems that this week's Sunday Million was a 2-day event. It didn't go until the Tuesday. So here we are, another 5K final table, but an interesting story, interesting narrative, a chance for redemption, because one of last night's finalists is back with another chance to win a WCOOP.
Ola Shemian?
He actually won. And no, before you ask, it's not Spraggy. Let's get to the action. The player in question is indeed MB Tremendo. It is Mario Bonanata, a 2-time WCOOP runner-up, came 5th in last night's event, looking to go 4 spots better tonight. Now, action is already underway, and I can tell you on the very first hand of this final table, there was a double up for the start of day short stack star wins. Got it in with Kings against Artixas 18, who had Ace King. Kings held. They have pretty much flipped stacks, and that is not good news. And I'll tell you why, Joe. Artix is a player I feel invested in, because Artix qualified for this 5K for just $55. Their best ever score to date was $3,800 in a bounty builder in 2017. They are guaranteed to double that with an 8K score for 9th, but I want them to go several spots higher.
Yeah, several spots higher, maybe collect a few more bounties. Would be cool to see them take down a bounty that's bigger than any prize they've ever won before.
Well, Artix on the button here with King Queen suited, just flatting the opening raise from Drew, who's got Ace Deuce suited. Tio Dennis deciding what to do in the big blind with 4-3 offsuit.
Seems pretty obvious.
And that is a pretty good board for Ace Deuce. 2 pair for Drew. Fortunately for Artix, has not really connected with this board in any way whatsoever. Can fold to the flop bet, and at this point, we can bring Nick Walsh into the proceedings. Hello, Nick. Welcome to WCOOP 2022.
Hello, guys. Thank you so much for having me, as always. I'm so excited to be here. Hello, everybody in chat. How you guys doing?
Yeah, and I guess we should highlight, Nick, not just MB Tremendo, who was a finalist last night, but some other usernames that viewers will be familiar with. One of those being the player with pocket threes here, Pro Beers. That is Andres Nemeth, a player who won 2 WCOOPs in 2020, and we interviewed him about at least one of those wins that year. Also won the PLO main event last year, so is a 3-time WCOOP winner. And then we have Samuel Vuesdam, European, who starts this final table as the chip leader. Representing Finland, is an online crusher with $10.8 million in stars earnings and has 3 WCOOP titles to his name. One of those wins was last year in a 1K PKO. So as you'd expect at a high roller final table, plenty of talent, plenty of pedigree, plus our qualifier, Arctic's Ass 18, in for just $55. This is the hero we need right now, the Lithuanian player looking for an amazing run, an amazing return on their investment. Interesting situation here, guys.
Yeah, pretty good looking flop there for King 9 of Spades. Pocket 5 is obviously going to be pretty confident they still have the best hand on the paired board, though. And it turns the King. That might actually slow the 5s down here a little bit. Obviously, plenty of C-bets with King X going to happen here once Pro Beers opens UTG. Does continue. Nice and small, too, about 1/3. Makes the call again, and no improvement.
That was a snap call on the turn, Nick. Inca didn't even think about it.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering whether or not Pro Beers slows down on this river, given the fact he flatted from position there. He might be out-kicked once in a while. You know, he might be up against, like, King, Queen, that kind of thing. He goes for half pot instead. I think he's going to control the pot like that regardless. Even if they do have him out-kicked, they're not going to be putting any raises here. So he does go ahead and fire. I don't know if 5s are going to find the hero call here. It is already a pretty substantial pot here. Blinds are only, are they 8 and 16, guys? 8K, 16K?
They've just gone up, 10-20 now, and we are now still playing 20-minute levels. They will go to 30 minutes when we get deeper into the structure. Rahman, watching on YouTube, has asked for an international tour of the final table. Let's see how this hand pans out, and then we will tell you where all 9 players are playing from this evening. We've got Inca opening with ace-10, and then the 3-bet from Teo Dennis with 9s.
Good old Uncle Dennis. And Inca, not much of a thinker. Does tend to click a little quick.
Yeah, he's defending the ace-10 like really rapido here. I really like the 3-bet from the 9s. I think 8s, 9s are definitely going to be combos that you like to 3-bet at this stack depth, especially given the fact we're on a final table. Gets it through with a bet.
So Inca, usually a mid-stakes player, doesn't have a WCOOP win, but did win a scoop title earlier this year, a 1K deep stack for $42,700. So let's go around the table, and let's do it in reverse order by chip stack. So the shorty right now is the qualifier, Arctic's, who is playing from Lithuania. MB Tremendo, made last night's final table as well, is playing from Uruguay. Pro Beers, Andres Nemeth is Hungarian. Starwins is Danish. Teo Dennis is the obligatory Brazilian player at the FT. Future of Me, that is Alex Kulev, who is playing from the Republic of Ireland. We have 2 players in Ukraine, Inca 2 and Drew, and I referenced a short while ago that European is Samuel Vuzden, who plays from Finland.
Little sourdough suited here for Drew. Ooh, sourdough suited. Which is artisanal.
A little bit of artisanal
available
sourdough.
when, yeah, with ace-5 suited facing a raise, you could do any number of things. Now has position.
Oh, man. 6 is here. Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like on a final table, you're going to play it cool. You got a pretty nice price, and obviously those smaller pocket pairs do really well as a set mine when you have more people in the pot, because when you connect, it's more likely one of your opponents is going to have a piece and you can get paid. Rather than squeezing this up, I think it's fine just to go ahead and flat. Now, if both players were significantly shorter, you might just want to squeeze this in and hope for fold, generate some fold equity, and then obviously just get it in with the best hand a lot of the time if you do get called. You know, you're not going to love it for the most part, but that fold equity is very, very prominent. I feel like you could even get hands like 8s or 9s to fold if you squeezed it here and both players were, you know, appropriately stacked pre-flop. But he is going to lead the turn. Not too big. Ace-5 might feel obliged to come along here, although he probably doesn't love this spot. He knows that that small blind range is going to contain stuff that has connected or will currently be beating his smaller pair here.
Drew is a bit of a mystery player. All we know about Drew, Derge, is that they are representing Ukraine. No other information on this finalist.
Checking a check seems good. All right, 6s take it down. No other information, huh? Just showed up and just final table to 5K high roller, no problem.
Well, of course, some players do prefer to keep their online results hidden. And that's why Drew's playing history is not easily available to us. 9-8 suited for Andrus Namath. Pro Beer's one of the shorter stacks and decides just to limp. Sixes for future of me.
Hey guys, if you're confused by this limp, it's probably the best play. We can just agree that it's probably the best play if Pro Beers is doing it right here. It's like, it's just whatever he's doing here, take notes because it's going to be the right play.
I mean, Pro Beers is just a sicko.
I know. It's unreal.
5.4 million in live earnings. Online results in the tens of millions, we think. And as previously referenced, a 3-time WCOOP champion, and all of those wins have come in the last 2 years.
Yeah, he's got the up and down straight draw here. He's got the bottom end of it, but it's still a pretty nice draw. I wonder if he tries to sort of take it down right here. I feel like a nice small bet is totally acceptable. Just going to go ahead and fire. Manages to get the sixes to fold. Like, you know, a lot of the hands that continue as a call in position there will just have to fold flop. Although, you know, Jack 10 isn't the worst board for somebody to come along on the button there either. But, yeah, just nice and small. I mean, easy peasy, limp, take down a chunky pot, next hand.
Yeah. A fair question from David H. Is this the same tournament as yesterday? It is confusing, right? Because one of the players is the same. It's another 5K buy-in. It's another progressive knockout event. Yesterday's event was the first of the World Championship events. Ola Shemian was officially crowned the World Champion of PKO No Limit Hold'em. There are, of course, plenty of other 5K, 10K events on the WCOOP schedule, this being one of them. And as we referenced at the start of the show, initially we weren't going to cover another 5K PKO, but with the Sunday Million this week only being a 2-day rather than a 3-day event, we had to give you something to watch.
And look, I can't say never, but watching the PKO format, at least at a 5K level, is pretty cool, right? Look at the size of these bounties. Just knowing that if European somehow gets knocked out, somebody's going to make over $8,000. You know, sometimes it's nice to switch things up and do events that aren't PKOs, but if we're going to do them, let's at least keep doing them on the 5K level.
Yeah, and it's something that when Tonka joined the stream yesterday, he referenced. Even at this point of the final table, and when we cover the Sunday Million, for example, by the time we're down to 9, the bounties are pretty irrelevant. Oh, ace-queen all in here after MB Tremendo open with ace-3, and that is going to be a fold. But at this point, the bounties still matter. And if you look, for example, the jump between 9th and 8th place prize money is just shy of 2,000. And you've got bounties at this table of 4,600. The biggest bounty, European, 8,200. So we are still going to see, I guess, Nick, some marginal calls maybe when people go bounty chasing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously everyone's still looking at that first place prize of 53K. But, yeah, he makes an absolutely a great point. And these are the kinds of things you need to be considering when you're playing your PKOs at any level, right? You know, I actually recently played. Sorry, let's watch this hand really quick.
Yeah, I mean,
anecdote about this.
This is a very interesting spot. We've got the open-ended straight draw for Teo Dennis, which is blocked by Samuel Woosden, who's got kings and is right now better than a 3-1 favorite.
I wonder if blockers are real.
This is a really good size, though, right, guys? Look, he's really going to punish those draws. He's really going to punish the middle pair, top pairs. Look at the turn. Blockers aren't real.
Blockers not real in this case. It is one of the 2 remaining kings in the deck, giving European top set, giving Teo Dennis the straight.
Oh, my days. What a turn. He's got to feel so confident as well. At this point, he's like, okay, cool. Just continue punishing those draws. Continue putting some chips in this pot. Top set seems like a pretty good hand.
Yeah. And we've already got 300K in the middle. Teo Dennis, the effective stack here, with 876K behind. A bet of 200,000.
I was going to say, I think he has to size up here in order to get the entire stack on the river, right? He needs to bet an amount so the total pot will be less, you know, SPR will be less than 1 for Teo Dennis as the smallest stack. I wonder if he's going to recognize that this is probably a stronger hand when he uses the size on the turn. It looks like he's trying to get the rest on the river, and then he might capitalize and just raise on the turn right here and now maybe. But also he wants to keep in some bluffs too. There it is.
All in and
Snap
a call.
called.
The board does not pair on the river, and Teo Dennis gets the double up, and European has lost the chip lead. In fact, Samuel Vuzden has dropped down to 5th place on the leaderboard. Teo Dennis is now the biggest stack with all 9 players remaining at this final table. 9 from 99. It was a flake, this PKO.
That is such a sick one. That's a real cold deck, and obviously still has the redraw as well, but just doesn't get there.
Yeah, so a reminder about bounties. Yes, in the progressive knockout format, of course, your own bounty increases, but bear in mind the number that is advertised on the avatar, the number that we see on screen, that is the amount that you win right here, right now. No one's expecting players to start working out 51% of the number on screen. The number that's advertised is what that player is worth to you immediately, and you get the money deposited straight away.
Yep, exactly. Take that one back to your games, guys. But no, I think that Tonka makes a really good point about, you know, keeping an eye on the actual value of the bounties, how they relate to the actual pay jumps at this stage. I was recently playing, I think they're called Last Man Standing tournaments here on Stars, where essentially almost all of the prize pool goes to first place. There's a couple payouts for, like, you know, top 10, but then the rest is all bounties. And I was in a really weird situation where I was on the final table and the pay jumps were like nothing. And first place was going to be like, you know, $3 grand, $4 grand or something like that. So I think that like first place probably takes home like 6,000 or something. And you still have to make those plays for bounties. You know, if there's sort of 7 or 8 left, there's very little ICM because it's so top heavy. Aggregating chips while you can get bounties is still so much larger than the actual pay jumps that were presented on the final table. So definitely one to keep an eye on, keep an eye out for, guys.
Well,
Queen 9.
Former chip leader, European, opening here to 44,000. Round to the blinds. Andrus Namath and Future of Me both folding.
James, I'm sorry for the noob question. What is the difference between a 5K PKO high roller and a normal 5K PKO like the one yesterday?
Yesterday's was a World Championship event. So officially, the winner of that is regarded to be the current world champion.
That one said world champion. This one doesn't. I think
Correct.
It's kind of the only difference.
I would also highlight that it was a much bigger field as well. Double the guarantee, double the number of players. And we could have a coin flip on our hands here, guys. The short stack, our qualifier, Artix, all in with ace-queen. European with 10s in the big blind. Makes the call.
Come on.
10s holding. And 10s are good. We lose our first player, and sadly it is Artix As18, who satellited in for $55. Still cashes out for a total of 13K. That's 8K in prize money, 5K in bounties. Not bad, and that is now their single biggest online cash to date.
So 13,000 total, just over 13K.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go.
What heart you have to have if your biggest online score is 4,000 and then you have a chance to enter a 5K or just take that money and have the biggest score of your life. Like, who's rolling that over? Not me. I'm taking that 5K and I'm running.
Let it roll.
So a few aces here. Ace-9 for Star wins. A reminder that this is Daniel Peterson from Denmark, who started the FT as the shortest stack, got the double up on the very first hand, and gets flattered by European. Inca 2 with ace-8 offsuit. Now 3 bets. A little bit of a squeeze from the small blind.
Inker.
Yeah,
Inker
this is
a stinker.
This is interesting. I feel like European might be picking up on the squeeze here, might want to still continue with ace-jack, but as we know, ace-jack off, such a difficult hand to play. well. And in 3-bet pots, you can be in a lot of trouble if it comes ace high, right? You can get into a lot of unusual situations if you hit the ace or the jack. Sometimes they're going to have an overpair if you hit the jack. Sometimes they're going to have you out kicked with the ace. Does pick up on it, and it comes jack 9-9. Obviously, going to have the best hand here very frequently.
Starwins must be so mad right now. Starwins must be furious.
Woulda, coulda is drastically changing that smiley face to a sad face in their user ID. And Inca leads. Inca, who was the 3-better pre, puts 110 into 424 and is now drawing dead.
Okay, he's like, yeah, I put in the C-bet. Now, probably not going to continue anymore.
I'm good.
He's like,
I'm good.
yeah. I
out.
mean, you'd
JK.
absolutely you'd love for European to have like 10-8 of spades here, which probably isn't very likely that he'd call with that combo anyway in the first place. But you know, you're blocking a lot of the weird draws that he might have, but probably theoretically never does. So it's just going to be a lot of stuff you don't want to see. A lot of pairs that aren't going to fold to it on the deuce of hearts turn. So nice and small, 1/3-ish on the turn from European. I mean, it would be really, really unusual to see Inker like check raise turn here. It's just not a line that you're going to see from value a lot, but it does look exceedingly strong if he decides to do it.
I like unusual, Nick, and I like it
too.
when people do stuff that we're not expecting.
Me too.
And when we
Me too.
can see the card, stuff that just looks crazy.
Yeah, it's just whether or not he's actually telling a believable story. Like if he has aces and he wants to slow down on the turn, does he really check raise, or does he just call and control the pot against another big stack, and convince maybe put in a small lead on the river, or try and catch a bluff on the river from king queen or something like that.
Yeah.
What if you don't know what you would do with aces because you've never had them?
Just gotta guess. All right.
Okay, so Woosden back up to nearly 2 million, vying for the chip lead once again. Corey Olsen gets in touch on YouTube to say, I'm new to online poker. I'm sure there's a lot of integrity here, but I'm just curious what stops players from watching the stream and seeing other players' hands. Well, as has been pointed out to you, Corey, there is a 30-minute delay on the action. Is worth highlighting that the players will have the stream on because the information is still useful to them. To see what cards everyone had 30 minutes later, especially in key spots, is very useful information. It does change the dynamic, but of course, as hands are being played in real time, no one can see what anyone else has.
And for some people, like me, for example, even if I could see what they had, I don't think it would help much.
Oh, Joe.
Uh-oh.
Hey, someone has aces. Look. Aces.
Yeah. So what do we know about Alex Kulev from Ireland? $1.5 million in Stars earnings, won a Scoop title earlier this year, and won a WCOOP title last year. So an accomplished player, as is Andrus Nemeth, who defends with Queen 10, and that is top set for Future of Me.
That's a good flop for aces, but it's one of those where you don't get a ton of action, right? Like you got so much of this board. Having said that, big blind defense here can be hands like 4-5. They can be hands like 3-5 suited. Sure, no problem. So, you still want to be betting here. You just want to go small enough where you get action from a pair of deuces, a pair of fours. And that actually is probably a pretty nasty turn here for aces, although you're still pretty confident you have the best hand. It's not going to be it's not the best turn in the world, right?
Not the best turn, but I feel like some folks don't even defend like their 3-4s and their 2-3s and their 5-3s. So I feel like this is one of the safest 4-card straight boards out there, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Sure. I mean, he could also have, some king highs, like king 3 suited and that kind of thing might be in there too. So it's, like I said, you're feeling good about it. You still have the redraw, even if they did turn the straight. If you size your bet small enough on the turn as well, you kind of control the size of that pot. You can still call if they check raise you and try and make the boat where you're probably always going to make some chips on the river. Ace, king, raise and take it. But I'm trying to think of what do you guys think the best turn would have been? You just turn the boat and hope that they turn trips, like, just a 4 straight on the turn or something like that? I don't know. Overcards are bad, right? A king
this one's
is another
easy.
overcard to a pair of 4s. In that situation.
Easy game, Nick. Come on, what else you got? I can do this all day.
Okay, we got guys. Get your questions in for Joe.
Okay, so the 3-bet from Future of Me gets through up to 1.4 million. And we're coming towards the end of the first session. Only one elimination so far, the qualifier, who went out in 9th place, cashing for just over 13k on an investment of $55. King 9 versus 10 9. It's the straight draw for Woosden.
Similar straight draw for Future of Me in some respects, but it would be bad.
Yeah.
Ooh, hello, lead. Hello, the pot control lead. I mean, Future of Me probably isn't going to fold king high with the backdoor straight draw here. It's whether or not he wants to raise on the flop. That's the thing. And the ace of diamonds actually gives him some ammunition here. Very believable that he floated the flop here with ace high. Ace 9, ace 10, ace jack, ace king, ace queen. But of course, his range is going to be quite wide on this flop anyway. So I don't know if the ace is as strong of a turn for Future of Me as it would have been had he opened from an earlier position, like under the gun or middle position or something like that. I think you want to bet big on the turn here, though, now, right? You really got to rep the ace now that you've put in the float, because you're not just expecting the backdoor the straight and get paid. If you put in something sizable here, you want to really punish the straight draws that might lead. Decides to check instead. Okay, recognizes that possibly king high might still be the best hand and gives European the opportunity to improve. Now European's going, please have the ace. Please have the ace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Smash it, mate. Just full pot. Just do it, European. You know what's up. Absolutely bombard him.
You know what's up.
He knows what's up. He's been around the block. Oh, there you go. That's what I'm talking about, my man. Let's go.
The overbet gets a fold, and that is going to take us to the first break. European back out in the number 1 position. And we'll be back to the action inside of 5 minutes, but we're going to use this break to get an update on what's happened in the last 24 hours of the World Championship of Online Poker. Bearing in mind, more than a dozen tournaments concluded yesterday, and we were only able to stream one of them. Luckily, we have our man from the PokerStars blog who follows everything, and there is nothing that he doesn't know. I am, of course, talking about our WCOOP correspondent. He's got the looks, he's got the brains, he's Howard Swains. So Howard, last night we watched Olashemian break Spraggy's heart. He claimed the first World Championship trophy of the series. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Tobias Leknis was off winning yet another WCOOP.
Yeah, and it's great actually because Tobias, as you know, is always very engaging and he's super enthusiastic about WCOOP and Scoop. And as you said, he has won his 7th WCOOP title on the second day of this year's series. So he won this one in a $215 PLO event for 26k. But the most impressive thing, as far as I'm concerned, about his victories is all 7 titles have come in different disciplines. So that's 7 variants, starting in 2017 to now. It's just an incredible achievement what he can do in the mixed games. We've got a new picture of him as well. That's very exciting. So check out the blog if you want to see what this Senkel 92 looks like.
I believe there's a story behind this, Howard. You actually specifically sought out an image of him when he turned up at EPT Barcelona.
Yeah, we had to because we've been using that same picture of him for years and years and years, and he always wins. And we know we're going to use this new one again, but we've actually got maybe 2 new ones now. So look out for those.
That's so crazy. Who even knew there were 7 different disciplines of poker? Anyway, it seems like the big names are off to a big start. Are there others?
Yeah, well, there was a 10k high roller over the weekend, of course. So that pretty much everyone in that was a known player, and it was won by Onyan Dimov, Coco Jambo. He won more than 200k. Obviously, we know him from plenty of other events. That was his second WCOOP title. And Marko Koplimar, or who plays as Marko Vitsus, he won the 2k Sunday warm-up for 95k, and that was his 3rd title. So yeah, big guns are doing very well already.
All right, look, we all know that Brazil is going to win the most trophies in the series. It's about as fresh as most of my jokes. So let's focus on other parts of the world.
Yeah, and we should as well, because you're right that Brazil have won 3 titles, which is the most, but there are already winners from 14 different countries, and that is a lot for this stage. So last night, 2 new countries appeared on the WCOOP leaderboard. We had a winner from Tunisia, where a player called Tunisian King won the $5.50 kickoff, the $5.50 kickoff. There was more than 13,000 entries in that huge one. So that's our first ever winner from Tunisia. And then a guy called Luck Prof won the 5:30 Sunday kickoff from Kyrgyzstan. He was the only player from Kyrgyzstan in that field and became the first winner from that country. And it now means over WCOOP's history, we've had winners from 75 different countries.
Wow, 75 countries in 20 years. I'm not going to put you on the spot, Howard, and expect you to name all 75, but I wouldn't bet against you being able to do that. Let's talk about different stats, different numbers. We talked about the stat tracker last night, and I noticed that the figures populating that have got significantly bigger.
They have significantly bigger. That was always going to happen, of course, because 19 tournaments now completed. We've seen 78,500 entries across the series so far, generating 8.3 million in prize money, and 1.4 million of that has gone to the winners. So 15 more tournaments started today, including the 10K Super Tuesday High Roller. Yep, up and up as always.
Well, that High Roller is the event we will be streaming tomorrow, and that's when we will speak to you again. But for now, Howard, thanks very much.
Look forward to it. Bye-bye.
Well, Tobias Leknes has taken an early lead in the Player of the Series race. Of course, whoever wins that contest will be inducted into the WCOOP Hall of Fame, alongside greats like Crown Up Guy, Raidalon, Adrenaline. Let's head back to the final table of this 5K PKO High Roller. Joe's going to take a break. Nick Walsh is still with me. And Nick, as we referenced at the end of that session, Samuel Woosden has retaken the chip lead, has the advantage once again, but it's pretty close. He's pretty much tied for top spot with Theo Dennis.
Yeah, I was going to say just now, he took a massive hit when we saw those kings running into the turn straight, but still a huge number of big blinds, guys. This is actually an incredibly deep final table, as you'd expect from a 5K. You know, what was it? What was it? Sam called it the deluxe blind levels. We have the luxury blind levels here in the 5K. Yeah, we've got plenty of play here left, and you know, the fact that he built a stack where he could still take that kind of a hit and that kind of a cold deck and still have like 50 or 60 big blinds, you know, testament to the hard work he's been putting in prior to arriving at this final table. So let's see how he plays Jack 4 off, guys. You know, anybody can play aces, James. Anybody. It's those that can play Jack 4 off well that succeed. The ace on the turn might give European the opportunity to put in a raise here.
Well, let's not forget that Jack High is officially the best hand.
That's true.
Goes
he doesn't need to turn it into a bluff.
And there is another ace. An ace on the river. Absolutely. Time for our first flaming Barry of the night.
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, given the fact there's been no action, James, you're absolutely right. Why turn Jack High into a bluff at all? I think he's happy just to check it down, and 9-7 probably picking up on the fact that European does have some kind of a showdown, including high cards like King High, Jack High, that probably won't fold. It's whether or not he makes the hero call on the river. Doesn't, and Inker will take it down. Very nice.
And blinds are up to 12,500, 25,000. Still playing 20-minute blind levels right now. And we've got action folded to European on the button. Opens to 55,000. Theo Dennis with ace deuce.
Yeah, I mean, 7-5 off, definitely on the wider side. You know, he is playing into one of the bigger stacks here, too. As you pointed out to you, Dennis, one of the other big stacks. So a little bit of big stack on big stack violence here to be opening so wide from the button, but obviously a very confident post-flop player. Feels like he can widen up that range. Yeah. Inker certainly is a little bit more in ICM jail, so to speak, given the fact that he's probably third in chips right now, or just thereabouts. Yeah, third in chips at the moment.
So Theo Dennis, who lost that pot to European, is the last remaining Brazilian in this 5K PKO, has $340,000 in PokerStars earnings, and has been playing on the site for more than a decade.
Yeah, those ever-present Brazilian flags, you guys. I mean, in recent years, Brazil has just been such a force in MTT poker, and we love to see it. They've got, that distinctive, hyper-aggressive, play, game style, play style, and obviously also, very good at changing gears, as we like to say on final tables. These guys have really shown time and time again that as we get shorter handed, they know exactly how to start adjusting those pre-flop ranges to put the squeeze on other players.
Well, there's a set of fours here for European, who pretty much has a lock on this on the flop.
Oh, yes, that's a very good flop. As Griffin pointed out, actually, during our Barcelona coverage as well, when you've got middle sets, it's actually a lot nicer to put in C-bets than when you have top sets. Obviously, there's different situations when top set is king, like ace high or king high and that kind of thing. But part of the reason why C-betting middle sets and bottom sets is better is, of course, your opponents will have top pairs, which they're much more likely to be sticky with. People who are, second to act in that pot, first act, in Teodermis's case, obviously might feel really obliged to fold their second pair, third pair kind of hands more readily, especially with a player to act behind. So obviously a pretty standard continuation there with the set. Having said that, Teodenis, probably very unlikely to have a pair there, probably a lot more likely to have middle top set or bottom set in that particular setup, given the flat from the small.
And look at this, Teodenis 3-betting from the button with 10-6 offsuit.
This is wild, James. Honestly, like I said already, the two big stacks, like not afraid to start tangling with each other. A friend of mine once said, once you get to a final table, you've got this kind of quote unquote implied collusion, between the big stacks. That's not to suggest that the players are playing, together or working the game together for their advantage. But when you've got other players to eliminate and you've got pay jumps to come, very frequently the big stacks will sort of avoid each other or they'll sort of play around each other. And the player dynamic at a final table to try and eliminate those shorties and for their sort of mutual benefit.
While the fourth bet got the job done there for European, who has very much reclaimed the chip lead now, 2.4 million, and a significant bit of distance between him and Teodenis. I'm glad you mentioned Griffin, Nick. Worth highlighting that Griffin Benji will be with us tomorrow. We are going to be covering that 10K Super Tuesday high roller. Griffin will be making his WCOOP 2022 debut tomorrow night.
Gotta love some Griff. You've gotta love some Griff. And guys, I was talking over it, but that 4-bet with King 9 of spades, like he's just like Europeans, like, oh, okay, I had top set and you turned it straight. Now give me like 5 more hands and I'll get back up to 2.4. No problem at all. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to say whether European or Pro Beers is the more accomplished online player, but certainly with that chip stack, fortune favors European right now. Teodenis flatting with the snowmans.
Num num. Num num.
Num num. I mean, this would be the dream if Teodenis could actually flop a set against the other big stack and just win like a 4 million chip pot here or something. That would be absolutely dream city. It's just really tricky to see how a player like European does actually go broke, with ace, queen versus eights, unless there is sort of a straight versus river boat scenario. Queen 10 of spades putting in the squeeze here, though.
Yeah. We established earlier on that Alex Kulov does have both a scoop and a WCOOP title.
He could just
re-raise
click it back and decide to fold.
From European. And the eights fold as well.
Very, very nice. That's pretty spicy, honestly. And again, I mean, these guys aren't afraid to play some poker on a final table. And as you already mentioned, James, when you see more unusual lines, I'm not suggesting that anything we've seen has been completely out of line thus far, except for maybe the 3-bet from Teodenis with the 10-7 off. You love to see these guys just putting the moves on each other and in such a big spot as well.
Yeah. Now, we have got one short stack right now, and that player is MB Tremendo, who made last night's final table as well. This is Mario Bonanata from Uruguay, who is playing fewer than 10 big blinds right now. And we've got sixes for Drew and queens for European.
Future of me. He looks up at European, sees that glint in his eyes, and he completely avoids 3-betting this like I thought he was going to, because he's aware that the queens in the big blind are going to make this very difficult for him to continue.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Well, this is likely to end this hand if we get a 4-bet from the queens.
I would love to see this setup, you know, in some kind of an ICM calculator. Like, it seems like a pretty clear 4-bet, doesn't it? And, you know, future of me, 1.2 million, you know, still a really, really big chunk of European stack if this were to go south for whatever reason. You know, a cold 4-bet in this scenario from European, just looking so strong. And, you know, I think he's probably capable of doing that as a bluff as well. So
yeah,
it's probably really good that future of me does just have king 8 of spades. Otherwise, might end up getting in a little bit of trouble there, maybe leveling himself into continuing with, you know, ace jack, ace queen, that kind of thing. But as played, pretty straightforward. Just a little teeny tiny 4-bet seems good.
So we have a blind on blind situation here. European versus Inca 2. King 3 raises, 10-7 snap calls, snap defends, and a pair of threes on the flop for European. King high would be the best hand even if he hadn't made a pair, and a c-bet and a fold. I'm just shocked at how quickly Inca acts. There was one hand where Inca used some of that time bank, but generally speaking, almost has their mind made up before their opponents even acted.
Yeah, and I've no doubt that a player like Inker, you know, probably already does have his mind made up about every scenario, you know, thinking, you know, like a chess player, thinking a couple moves in advance, James, you know. But in this particular scenario, I feel like he's probably played so much blind v blind. But we've seen that fast play in other positions as well that are probably going to be a little bit unbalanced, where he needs to take longer to think about situations that aren't as clean cut. So we'll see how this goes. We saw an open from 8-5 off. Again, European not afraid to play a really wide button range here. And, you know, talk about playing exploit poker, or, you know, making yourself exploitable by playing exploit poker. You know, it's really difficult for Inker and Teo Dennis to play back at European, especially when he's willing to 4-bet with, you know, king 9 of spades and stuff like that, like we've just seen. Really interesting lead here from the 3. I feel like European will punish this lead a lot of the time. I don't know if Teo Dennis is telling a story like I have a queen when he puts in this small lead. Might have a hand like 4-5, might have a hand like 3x or deuce x, and sure enough, European just puts the moves on him right then and there.
Well, you'll see that European is now closing in on the 3 million mark and pretty much has a 2-1 chip lead over Teo Dennis, who sits in second place. Pro Beers opening here with ace 6 and ace 3 for MB Tremendo, who is the short stack. Oh, you don't really want to take a stand here with ace 3 though, do you?
Yeah, it's, you know, I feel like some players will just go, you know, I'm supposed to defend. I'm really supposed to defend. It's so cheap. I'm getting such a good price. But I don't know if, especially given Pro Beers raising with European in position, is going to have that many combos that you're going to love to see in this scenario. You're going to be outkicked a lot of the time. Given this board texture, though, James, I feel like we might actually make it to showdown once in a while if Pro Beers chooses not to bet the turn. He puts in a little delayed c-bet and takes it down, though.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why defending that ace 3 is just so difficult to pull off. I wonder if Tremendo's supposed to fold there. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure, but
talking of Tremendo, Nick,
Nom 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 nom.
Starwinds has opened, and I think Tremendo is going to be getting it in with 8s. And interestingly, it doesn't look like it's going to be the king-queen that takes him on. Starwinds is going to be forced to fold. European is going to be forced to call. Maybe Starwinds can just flat and hope that European can't re-raise, right? It's an under-raise.
it is correct. So Starwind. Oh, excuse me.
Oh, Starwinds decides to isolate. Fair enough.
He does it instead. That's amazing. And European with the opportunity for a double knockout.
Yeah, Queen 10 offsuit.
It's a lot of chips, James.
Well, it's a flip. Eights versus the king queen. Pretty safe board for the eights. Looking good. That is going to be a double up. And that means Star wins has now become the shortest stack. And Tremendo now with aces.
Let's go, mate. Let's go the spin up. You love to see it sometimes. Where are we at right now? So he's got about 20 big blinds or something like that. I mean, Europeans should be calling for the bounty very frequently. So, but he's a little bit more awkwardly stacked now, right? I think the shove looks weakest, and European might just give him a spin, but not for 500K anymore, James. That double up or almost triple up from the previous pot,
yes,
is gonna not get him paid there.
Wow.
But he is up to 600K regardless.
Wow. So European opens with the snowmans.
Num 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 num.
Inca with ace queen, but look what Pro Bears has in the small blind. Inca 3 bets. Pro Bears likely to be 4 betting, and the question is for how much?
Yeah, this is a dreamy situation for Kings. Pro Bears knows it. He's going to rip.
Okay, now we've referenced a few times that Inca likes to make quick decisions. I would like Inca to take their time over this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the time for Inca to be a thinker.
The cold 4-bet from Pro Bears, not the shortest stack, but one of them, actually kind of in the middle, probably not likely to have any bluffs or anything of that nature here. Probably not even going to have like jacks. I don't even know if he shoves jacks in this scenario. So really take a minute there. You saved a bunch of time banks with all your fast play, Inca. I think he knows he needs to let this one go. This would be quite the punt with ace queen, in my opinion. It's just so ridiculously strong from the small blinds.
I mean, we can see, though, no aces have been folded. I'm not saying you should be basing that decision on trying to hit an ace, but would have 3 live outs.
I mean, James, he can still win 4K, almost 5K from a knockout as well, so that's got to be playing on his mind.
That's true.
Those pay jumps just aren't that big in comparison to that bounty, but it seems like a punt.
That's an important thing to highlight, Nick, though. The fact that they have Pro Bears covered. This is not a case of calling all in with ace queen.
Right.
This is calling as the covering stack. So I guess you can excuse this call maybe a little bit more. That ace is not going to help you. The set of kings on the flop, and Pro Bears doubles up to 1.7 million, and Inca now becomes the shorty with 300K. And if you like races, strap in for the sickest and classicest of all races. Teo Dennis with ace-king, MB Tremendo with queens, and Inca could get a ladder here. Star wins could get a ladder.
James, you took the words out of my mouth. What if Inca actually gets the ladder after making the call with ace-queen? Teo Dennis is not folding this hand. This is the easiest 4-bet jam in the history of poker. I don't know. Is anybody ever going to flat here with ace king really and give your opponent the opportunity to catch up / not deny equity potentially? Here it is.
There's the shove. And MB Tremendo, it's all in to call. They make the call. Queens are at risk, but ahead. Spades are a factor. King on the river. And MB Tremendo is KO'd. Finished 5th. In last night's event, is the 8th place finisher in this PKO high roller, and that will see Mario Bonanata from Uruguay cash out for just shy of 10K from the prize pool and 13.5K in bounties.
Wow, and Inca does actually get the ladder despite the ace-queen call, and that's huge, James. I mean, and we were talking about the covering stack. We're talking about potentially to win a huge bounty, which I'm sure went into that call from ace-queen. But aside from that, it also means you remain in, and there's still the possibility of finding a ladder. So congrats to Inca on getting the ladder regardless. I mean, still gets significantly more.
Gets shoved on, calls with ace-3, and that 9 is the straight for European. It's over on the turn, and now Inca is eliminated. by the chip leader. Samuel Woosden claims another bounty, moves up over 3 million in chips. Inca 2 out in 7th place, gets $12,787 plus 6,200 in bounties. We are down to 6 players. We've had 2 quick eliminations there. And right now it is European in control with more than 3 million. Teo Dennis, 2nd place with 2.2 million, having eliminated MB Tremendo.
Yeah, GG's to Inker, though. You know, those spots are really difficult to know what to do, especially when you can win bounties of that size. We're talking about a 5K bounty, guys. You know, it's understandable why under pressure they might make that call. So GG to you, sir. On to the next one. A couple really spicy hands that are all in a row, and does get the ladder as well, James. That's just so significant.
Yes.
You know, if you're gonna make the call with ace queen and lose that, you know, it's fantastic to still find the ladder by some miracle. And we have domination rotation on the flop here. Queen 10 does manage to spike their 10. Puts in a nice small continuation here against Proviers.
And gets the call. Neither player has a spade. Should highlight that with those 2 eliminations, it is star wins. It is Daniel Peterson from Denmark, who is now the shortest stack at the final table, with just shy of 500k, playing just shy of 20 big blinds. And Woosden betting again here with top pair, gets the fold, up to 3.2 million now.
Yeah, fair play. I mean, guys, just notice as well the flat from Probiers there pre-flop as well. A lot of players kind of going, oh, ace queen in the big blind seems like a pretty easy 3-bet, but Probiers is like one of the best in the world, knows that he wants to control these pots. He knows that they're combinations that will likely dominate some of the opening range of European, willing to just take it to the streets there, potentially get outplayed, but not a player that gets outplayed often. What I'm trying to say is that it's really cool to see him slowing down in these situations to try and allow for some of the shorter stacks to bust, and just, you know, allowing the ICM, you know, and counting for the ICM and trying to find those all important ladders. In this case, connecting with middle pair, future of me, finding the 2.
Absolutely. And Big O Boom Baby asks on Twitch, do we know who is future of me? We do. It's an Irish player called Alex Kulev, or a player who certainly resides in Ireland, who already has a Scoop and a WCOOP title to their name, and has the best of it here with Jackson 8. Pro Bears betting. I mean, you're not liking Jackson 8s here on this board. It's straighty. There's a flush draw out there. It's, oh, you've got the flush draw, fine. But the straight is a little bit concerning.
Sure, you know, and, you know, having sort of, you know, the king can significantly sort of damage your sort of average hand strength here. Obviously, king jack, king 10, king 8, totally possibilities here, blind v blind. And as you say, the straights as well, not ideal. But with the flush draw, you're feeling pretty confident. I imagine you probably just want to go ahead and flat here. He does actually decide to go for the raise instead. I mean, it's interesting because with that kind of a size, do you convince a king to fold quite often as well? Really interesting spot, but definitely Jack 8's going to be the best hand often enough to put in the raise once in a while. Does decide to do it, taking it down.
Yep. So, Nick, I know that you listened to the most recent episode of the Poker in the Ears podcast. I know that you would have heard our interview with Ben Donnelly, the winner of the EPT Barcelona main event, and of course got a full rundown of the events that you were going to be streaming during WCOOP. But you may have also heard me reference that during these live streams, we are going to reveal the new Poker in the Ears merch that's now available for superfans to win, and we might give away in some other competitions, including on the PokerStars Discord server. Make sure you join the PokerStars Discord server if you haven't already. There are dedicated podcast channels. The next break, which is just over half an hour away, I'm going to reveal that merch. I figured I'd wait till today. I figured you'd want to see it as well.
I'm actually really excited about that. I mean, I didn't receive my merch in the post yet, though, James. There must have been some sort of mistake. I'll have to check the post box downstairs. Well,
I'm sure that you'll be on the Discord. I'm sure you'll be applying to come on Superfan versus Stapes. This is merch, by the way. Look, I don't want to oversell it. It's nice. I like it, but it's nothing out of the ordinary. But it is exclusive to competition winners. It is not available to buy from the store. As we see Woosden back in action against Drew and winning this hand on the turn. consolidating that chip lead.
Yeah, if you guys haven't listened to the most recent episode of the podcast, though, it's a really good one. I know a lot of people would love to hear from, Bendinelli as well, given such a charismatic and interesting and dynamic final table that we had, so many twists and turns. It was actually a very, very nice solo interview. I feel like he represented himself really well, and it was really cool to hear, in those situations, people are under so much pressure to perform, and as he said when he finished, oops, sorry guys, one sec, we might see some action here.
Yeah, we've had ace-5 complete in the small, the raise from queen-jack in the big, and ace-5 will not be hating this board. Top pair and a wheel draw.
Yeah, I think he said something like, I just wanted to sleep for 15 hours because, the adrenaline playing for 14 hours a day, 3 or 4 days in a row or whatever, it was really, really cool, guys. Go give it a listen on all the normal places where you get podcasty stuff. Okay, ace-5 does lead.
And ace-5 now has 2 pair on the turn.
Man, Tio Dennis here, really interesting situation. I'm wondering if he ever turns the ace into a bluff, but that's so confident from European. 2 leads there, going to take it down pretty easily. I feel like it's a lot easier for Tio Dennis to represent the, a flush or something if he has a spade in his hand. Obviously, we know spade, pretty easy getaway. Yeah.
2 things. I want to come back to the Bendinelli interview in just a moment, but I also want to highlight the fact that the Tunisian King is watching the stream. The Tunisian King is in chat on Twitch. The first ever WCOOP winner from Tunisia, as highlighted by Howard Swains during the last break.
What's up, buddy? Welcome.
I'm interested in your thoughts, Nick. Obviously, I asked Flexinelli about the moment when I think a lot of the audience were not a fan of his, when he seemingly was not being pleasant towards the dealer. He is adamant that he was joking. He was having fun with the dealer. I went back and watched it again. Look, I'll take his word for it, but there wasn't really a sarcastic tone or a humorous vibe when he made those comments.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, James. I mean, like I just said, it's a ridiculously high pressure environment. You've got you've got a bunch of people watching you online, literally tens of thousands. You've got thousands of, you've got, hundreds of people in that room staring at you, your head's up. You're playing against, help me, James, sorry. It was
Jimmy Guerrero.
Thank you, Jimmy Guerrero. You're playing against Jimmy, and Jimmy is playing like his best speech play you've ever seen, right? Winding you up left, right, and center. I feel like between Jimmy winding him up and between all the pressure, I feel like maybe there was a little bit more aggro in there. But I think I have to agree. I do feel like there was some real frustration, perhaps not directed at the dealer. Maybe it came across that way, but he was certainly frustrated with the run of cards he was getting heads up. And understandably so as well. He did have a string there where he just didn't really have too many playable hands.
Well, back to the action at this 6-handed final table, and we have Queen 10 opening, Ace 10 flatting, Ace 10 as well in the big blind for future of me.
Potentially another squeeze spot, but he decides just to flat instead.
It's all diamonds. The flush draw for future of me, who is shopping right now with Drew.
Okay. I mean, pretty hard to play ace 10 here. Ace 10 of spades, right? You're facing that lead on the turn, taking it down.
Star wins still the short stack with the blinds now at 15,000, 30,000, going up in 13 minutes time.
Looks like Pro Beers has the combo here, but as we've seen already, Teodanis and European as the big stacks not willing, completely willing to open up those ranges. Jack 7 suited, just like, come on guys, let's go. And check this out, Pro Beers is like, I feel like I know what's going on at this table. Let's up the ante here. Let's go ahead and put in a 3-bet here. Teodanis probably going to get away from it, and Pro Beers is just chipping up, right? Started today with around 800K, if I'm not mistaken, James. Another absolute end boss, just managing to chip away and just navigate these final tables, just aggregating chips. As we get shorter handed, we're just going to see these three really go into town on each other, and it's really, really great to see. This is kind of why we do the coverage, guys, to see these serious grinders making the plays that others just don't see. Yeah, interesting one here. Queen 7 probably is meant to be a defend. You're supposed to have sort of a minimum defend threshold here. I feel like Queen 7 is also a combination that you can 3-bet as well. I was about to say,
Yeah.
you know, having the high cards, Queen X, King X, Ace X, obviously those are obviously good combinations in order to 3-bet because you're blocking some of the combos that might want to continue. Queen 7 off is a common one. King 4 off is another common one. Ace 5 is another common one. In some cases, Ace6, Ace7 as well, just because they don't have great playability post-flop. So it's almost better to flat with Ace5 where you can make the wheel straight, and then turn some of those weaker ace combos into a 3-bet where you're just trying to take it down pre-flop more often. Top pair here for Pro Beers, again, defending that King 8.
Nom nom. Nom nom.
Snowmen's are losing right now. Carpon asking how many bullets are these players in for. The majority actually are on their first bullet, but Starwinds is in for 2 buy-ins and Pro Beers is in for 3. So for Pro Beers, this is a 15K tournament.
Ooh. Who was it on the final table, James, of Barcelona? I can't remember now. He's saying, I have to come 5th. This is you guys. The bubble burst, you know, hours ago. But I have to come 5th in order to break even because I lost so much money playing cash games. That was a brilliant moment. Stape says he thinks this was KN. Yeah, I thought it was as well. Yeah, that was a funny moment. Obviously, plays a lot of high stakes cash games, and all around those series that you see us following. Obviously, still plenty of action. Pocket 8s with the hero call.
That's worth one of these.
I think it's one of those. Yeah, it's not too shabby.
Narrows the gap between European and Pro Beers. Vusden playing 3 million. Andrus Namath moves over 2 million. Okay, we've got Ace-Jack, we've got 7s, we've got 6s. Ace-Jack opening under the gun.
Teodanis with the opportunity to set mine here. Still plenty deep just to try and find a pair of 7s. You know, I would say set mine when we see these smaller pairs. 6s squeezes in. Guys, we might see a flip here for the booty. This is a $4,000 bounty. European can absolutely just ship this in. Can absolutely do it. I wonder if Teodanis ever has a trap here, though, to try and entice European into making that kind of play. He doesn't have to ship necessarily. He could just put in a small 4-bet.
No, he decides just to call. Flats the shove from Starwinds, and now Teodanis re-raises to isolate, and Starwinds is dominated. Starwinds is crushed. Starwinds is out. Teodanis takes that 4K bounty, and Starwinds, Daniel Peterson cashing out for, well, it was $16,560 in prize money, $5,380 in bounties as we go 5-way at this final table.
Yeah, European just opens the door for Teodanis to go ahead and just slam it in. I mean, I wonder if European ever has a trap there with, you know, bigger pairs as well. Probably does, I imagine. So not necessarily showing a ton of weakness just by flatting. In some cases, that will actually be stronger too. So bit of a tricky one, but Teodanis picks up a huge bounty there, guys. Now his head is worth just less than European and about 10K, 11K if you knock him out. So GG, sir.
Yeah, European still has everyone covered right now. Great board for Drew. Top pair with the backup of the nut flush draw.
Pretty ginormous flop for ace king with the king of hearts.
And sevens again for Theo Dennis. Andrus Namath opens under the gun with king queen. And sevens are holding on an ace 9 deuce flop. King queen bets, gets called. Board pairs on the turn. And sevens are still good. It's going to get checked to showdown. It does. Theo Dennis pretty much tied for the chip lead now with European, as Pro Beers drops below the 2 million mark. I guess we should highlight there are no super short stacks though now, Nick, with 5 players remaining. Drew is officially the shortest stack, but still has 1.1 million.
Yeah, still 40-ish big blinds. I mean, there's still tons of play in this, guys. I mean, even if we do see some setups here, we're probably in for a pretty significantly long 3-handed heads up at this stage. There's just so many big blinds knocking about in those luxury blind levels. Definitely what you like to see on a 5K buy-in.
Luxury blind levels. I tell you what, the next blind level is definitely a luxury. 17,500, 35,000. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It should not exist.
I agree. I mean, when we're playing online poker, it doesn't matter as much, right? You just click that chips to big blinds, and you're all good, right? But doing that live would just be a nightmare, honestly. Mental math, not my strong point. We see Jack 10 open up, King 10 suited, the dominating hand, defend the big blind here. Nothing for either player. European probably well aware of the fact King High will be the best hand here quite often, though.
$56 into 153. And that will see a change at the top. It is now Theo Dennis who has the slight chip lead over European. 9-8 opening for Drew. Queen 10 suited for Theo Dennis, who calls. And oh, wow. Drew flops the straight. Second pair for Theo Dennis, who you imagine will hang around for at least one street.
Yeah. And we've seen, you know, a lot of these 1/3, 1/4 pot sizings. You know, there's no chance you're getting away from middle pair here. I think you're always going to at least flat. Theo Dennis probably, you know, playing against a lot of these more aggressive players is aware of the fact that they'll have a lot of 2 barrels here where the 10 will still be good. You know, I'm not even sure if he should be folding to a turn continuation bet here, James. Like, if you're folding a 10, you're probably going to end up folding too often to, you know, other straight draws like Queen 9, maybe a hand like King Queen, maybe a hand like, you know, maybe Ace King with a heart or something like that as well might decide to play their hand aggressively like this. I'm not sure if that's what Drew does, but
I want this hand to get to the river because I want to see if Drew can make a 7-card straight. Damn it! We all would have got paid on the fortune bonus if that had happened.
Fortune bonus, let's go.
King Deuce versus 9-8, blind v blind. And it is a King High flop, top pair for Theo Dennis.
Yeah, Drew just goes really big on that turn, unfortunately, when he turns this straight. I think he could have gone smaller and still had a pot size bet for the shove, but trying to make a nice easy jam for the river, I guess. I'm trying to get max. Theo Dennis is going to go ahead and bet turn now. And the backdoor clubs do come in. He does have the deuce of clubs blocker, though, so a little bit less likely Drew is going to have that made flush. James scoffing at the blockers.
What did we discover about blockers earlier on? Tell that to Samuel Woosden when he had kings.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Drew bluffs this.
Yeah. I don't know if this is going to work, though. I mean, on this turn, obviously, Jack of Clubs is missed. You know, feel like that's probably the only draw that's really missed given the play thus far, though. So it's not the easiest call in the world, but
yeah,
with the Deuce of Clubs blocker, I feel like you probably just convince yourself you still have to call. You only have to have the best hand about 1/3 of the time here in order to make it profitable. So
it is a full pot-size bet, and the bluff gets through. Teo Dennis folds the best hand. Oli Ocho says, James, you guys going to stream a session every day during WCOOP. Pretty similar format to what we did with Scoop earlier this year. Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Most of the big events take place on a Sunday and therefore conclude in the following days. So the start of the week is our primary focus. And most of our streams are going to focus on the World Championships. I think we've got 3 next week. We're streaming the 6-Max, the PLO 8, and the Heads Up. So we're going to have 3 World Championship winners next week.
So much coverage this WQP, guys. You guys are lucky ducks out there, man. Check, check, river. Ace Queen going to take it down.
Now, with those first 2 events I highlighted, the 6-Max event and the PLO 8, those will be final tables. But I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I will check with the tournament team. I think that Heads Up, we come back with 4 players. So I think we have the 2 semis which run simultaneously. So expect plenty of switching during the first half of that broadcast before we then focus on the final heads-up battle for the trophy and what will probably not be an insignificant amount of money. Other championship events to be live streamed, the Women's Championship. There is a 8-game championship. Of course, the 10K No Limit Hold'em Championship, the main event, that will conclude the series. And, of course, we'll throw in the 25K Super High Roller for good measure. That's a broad overview of what we've got coming up between now and the end of September.
Man, 25K High Roller, that's going to be sick. I'm really pulling for our most recent horse EPT champion, Pie Face Poker, to take down a mixed game event as well. I don't know. Does anyone know how he did in the horse yesterday? I should have been following along, but I know he was playing our first horse event during WCOOP yesterday.
Now, the problem is we need Pi to handle some of the final table replays, along with yourself, Nick. We also need Pi to provide analysis of our PLO 8 and 8-game streams. So, on the one hand, go Pi. On the other hand, don't go too deep because we need you.
Yeah. We'll have to keep somebody else on standby, but who better to cover it than our very own mixed games specialist. So proud of that guy taking home a trophy in Barcelona. Just fantastic stuff. Really, really cool to be there for the win as well.
So Ace King versus King Jack. Draws for both players. Ace High still ahead. And Future of Me bets 156,000.
The Pro Beers. He's like, do I want to raise here for real? I don't know. I mean, this was a 3-bet pot, right, guys? So it is a bit of a tricky one. It's like, you know, if you raise and then they shove like a set on you here, you kind of hate life when you've got such a nice draw with backdoor spades as well. So I imagine we're just going to see a call here, but whatever he does is probably the best play. There you go. He does decide to go in for the raise, and it's a big one too. You know, pretty significant size here. Just under 3x here.
Nice comment from Jess Alice J. Amateur beers went out before the bubble. Pro beers made the money, made the final table. By the way, 11 got paid. So Anjay and Hello Totti, who didn't make the final table, did make the money. It was Marco Vitsas who won WCOOP title last night. Marco Koplamar, who bubbled in 12th place.
European does decide to open this pot, guys, from the cutoff. Ace-9 off seems pretty reasonable.
The power of sourdough suited.
Ooh, sourdough suited. Which is artisanal.
And puts European in a difficult position with ace-9 offsuit. Decides to call, out of position, doesn't have the betting lead, has a hand.
Yeah, tricky to play this one well. Tio Dennis is in kind of a weird spot, right? Like, definitely can, you know, go ahead and just bet here and take the pot down once in a while, but also it is it's sort of a tightrope when you have ace highs in these situations with more passive action, because you already have a decent amount of showdown with the ace high. It's just whether or not your perception of your opponent's range is good enough to try and maybe get some smaller pairs to fold and stuff like that. Maybe anything that has equity against your hand is something that you want to fold, essentially, right? You like to win that pot at non-showdown. You don't want to rely on the cards to run out clean for you when you have ace highs, but Tio Dennis does decide to put in a bet, takes it down on the flop nice and easy.
And Tio Dennis opening here with ace-3, gets called by the blinds. Sixes for Pro Bears, queen-jack for Future of Me, who has flopped top pair. The wheel draw for Tio Dennis.
Yeah, these are really interesting ones where, you know, the 4 is such an innocuous card. It's such a well-disguised straight when you have ace-3 in the turn, and they turn the wheel with a 4. Many a player exited from a tournament in it, and that's kind of one of the reasons why these, you know, ace-deuce, ace-3, ace-4, ace-5, all the ace combos where you can still make the wheel is such a cool combo to have in your range. That's why we see a lot of these combinations going into some flatting ranges, more so than hands like ace-6 or ace-7 where it's not there. And look at the turn.
Wow.
It's like, oh, you just always know it's going to come like that.
Tio Dennis with the straight. Pro Bears now with a straight draw. Future of Me still with top pair and unfortunately drawing dead. By the way, David Humphreys on YouTube pointing out that Future of Me is Ireland's #1 online player. Already referenced that Alex has 1.5 million in PokerStars earnings, won a WCOOP last year and won a scoop. It was a Thursday thrill worth nearly $250,000 earlier this year. So 165,800 is the bet on the turn. Pro Bears is out of the way. Future of Me, what's it going to be? A call. And the board pairs on the river.
Yep, I mean, you know, Tio Dennis is capable of having jack deuce here, you know, jack deuce suited.
Ooh.
Something like that. So obviously there are some counterfeits. Probably not what Future of Me is thinking about, though. And the overbet river, the overbet jam. It's like 3x pot, you guys. Gets the fold.
So I just need to make something clear. When we talk about where a player is from, it is where their PokerStars account is registered and what flag they display in the PokerStars lobby. Now, I know the poker players move around the world. Some of them move to jurisdictions where it's easier to play. Future of Me has an account that is registered to the Republic of Ireland. Therefore, all of those stats count towards Ireland's results, wherever Future of Me may originally be from.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge pot there for Tio Dennis. Obviously getting significant value from the turn straight as expected. In this pot, however, European defending King Queen in the big blind does turn the up and down straight draw. It's a classic up and down with 2 overcards scenario. Depending on the way Drew sizes his bet here on the turn, European probably does want to be pretty sticky in these situations. But given the run out, probably just checks turn. He does, and sure enough, European going to have the best hand on the river now. Okay, nice and small. Drew does have showdown, probably just going to flat. Does call and no good. European up to 2.6 million chips.
Yeah, and now we have Drew opening with King Queen. Pro Beers with Jack 10.
Little 3-bet action here. Gets Drew to fold the best hand. Very nice.
So we've got Theo Dennis in first place right now, chip leader with 3.2 million. Start of day chip leader, European, starting this hand with 2.6, and then Pro Bears in third place with 2.2. Blinds going up in 12 minutes time. They will go to 2040.
We're getting through it now, guys. Blinds are going up pretty rapidly. Still no shorties, as James pointed out, though. Drew, obviously, our shortest, future of me. Yeah. Currently our shortest, but still, you know, not what I would call exactly the danger zone just yet.
So we've got top pair for Pro Bears, a flush draw for European.
Yeah, these are tricky as well, James. Once again, having top pair with the club blocker. I know they're not real, but that plays into people's decision-making regardless. A lot of times, if you do make it to a club turn, it's much, much more difficult to fold. That's a really nice turn for the Queen 10, though, obviously. This might be a lead turn scenario once in a while. If you feel like your opponent is unlikely or likely to check behind, you know, the turn with, you know, over pairs or like pair of tens or something like that. I think probably at this level you can allow European to barrel, though, pretty aggressively, and I think that's kind of what Pro Beers is picking up on here. So he does give the reins back to European, who does continue for about, you know, 3/4 pot or something here. Very significant size. So a very nice check here from Pro Beers. If you're playing against more passive opponents and you turn these strong hands that are somewhat disguised, it can be very beneficial to just go ahead and lead turn. Still get called by some overpairs, still get called by pocket tens, pair of nines, pair of sevens, maybe some flush draws, maybe some straight draws. It's just one of those scenarios where you need to gauge your opponent's willingness to continue. Maybe you've got some information about their aggression frequencies. Ooh. Wow, okay. So now it's very, very interesting because European can still have a 9. And obviously the 9 is a combination that European might be tempted to check back in fear of a queen. Does European have a third barrel here, though, on the queen, 9-9 texture?
No, checks it. And Pro Bears up to 2.8 million, wins a huge pot there off European. Woosden drops down to third place. We're seeing the ascent of Andras Namath. Very tricky player, very accomplished player. And now we have Ace-Queen versus Ace-Queen.
Yeah, I think we might see a squeeze here, James. I mean, European's been so aggressive. His range is so wide, especially now that we're five-handed. And Drew is well in position, on the button, going to probably really be in a lot of tough spots once they've flatted here. Going to take this down pre-flop a ton, which is huge given the antes and the blinds that are already dead in the middle.
Yeah,
Drew actually could just ship this now if he wanted to. I feel like he knows Pro Beers is capable of bluffing us a 3-bet here often enough for the shove to be fine with ace-queen off. Might just decide to put it in. He does. And a call.
And hearts are free rolling. And it's going to be a chop. And Nick, you know what they say. Everyone loves a chop pot.
All right, chat, what do you think?
I wouldn't expect high scores, Nick. I wouldn't expect high scores. It's not great.
I don't know how much. I don't think we're on that much of a delay, James. Maybe I should have been closer to you this time.
I mean, I don't want to point fingers, but I'm sure it was your fault.
It probably was. Yeah, probably. We had some absolute blinders in Barcelona, but that's obviously a lot easier when you're sitting in the same room as someone else.
When you're in the same room, it's incredibly easy. There's no excuse when you're in the same room.
Sorry, guys. All right, back to the poker anyway. Little blindy blind action here. Queen 4 off with the gut shot. Same for European, but does not have the high card in this case. Queen 4 is still the best hand now. Queen 4 continuing to be the best hand on the turn when he makes his pair. My guy's not slowing down. Just says everyone getting the words right is 5 points in itself. You'd be surprised how few people get the words wrong. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Okay, Jack 9 not going anywhere. Wants to float again. There's already 325K in the middle, guys. Does Future of Me have another barrel when he already has what is going to be the best hand pretty often with Queen High? When that board pairs, you know, Queen High is going to be a good hand. Does take it down.
Does indeed, and I think we're going to squeeze in one more hand this session. Queen 9 opening on the button. 4 deuce in the big blind for Teo Dennis.
Wow, really not afraid.
Pairs their deuce to become a 3-1 favorite.
You know what, guys? I just love this, man. The dynamic of the PKO just changes things so significantly. Teo Dennis is like, "Oh, I got you covered. Sure. What? I don't care what I've got. Yeah, I put the chips in the middle. Let me call you down with a deuce here for the win. Let me see how much bounty I can take off you here."
So Teo Dennis called the continuation bet. Checks the turn. Future of Me does not barrel, checks it back.
Yeah, Teo Dennis has got to be really confident now, James. You know, given that action, you're just going to have the best hand with a deuce so often, but it's not, you know, there's no value, so you just check call river, I think. I don't know if Future of Me has a ton of bluffs when he bets this river, though, so it can actually be a little bit of a leveling war. You know, would Future of Me check turn with, you know, an 8 combination, you know, 8-9 or, you know, 9-10 or something like that, probably continues to barrel. So the overbet river...
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
If
I mean, if you're going to bluff,
Dennis
this
can
is...
hero here with the best hand, Nick, we are going to get an elimination just before the break. Nope, we get a fold.
Beautiful. Nice.
And we do reach the next break, and players will be back at the table inside of 5 minutes. And Teo Dennis goes into the second break as the chip leader with 3 million. Pro Beer sitting in second place with 2.8 million. Future of Me still the shortest stack with 900K. 5 remaining from the 99 who started in this 5K progressive knockout high roller event. Well, let's bring Joe Stapleton back because we have got some very important business to take care of during this break. And I should highlight that, Joe, you have not yet seen any of this new Poker in the Ears merch. This is going to be a reveal for you, for Nick, and for the audience.
It'll be like Christmas. We'll have to pretend to like it no matter what.
Okay, well, again, a reminder that this is exclusive merch for people who listen to the Poker in the Ears podcast, available on all the usual podcast platforms, and who participate in competitions and promotions that we run, including the Superfan versus Stapes quiz. If you want to know more, if you want to apply to be on the podcast, make sure you join the PokerStars Discord server and join us in the dedicated podcast channels. So, of course, we have to have a t-shirt. So this is the latest version of the Poker in the Ears t-shirt. Very simple, black design with the Poker in the Ears logo on it. And I like that. I think it's a kind of very simple... Hang on, I need to go this way, don't I? Very simple design. And then on the back, you've got the PokerStars logo as well.
That's something I would wear. That's something I would legitimately wear, not just when Grandma came over after giving it to me for Christmas.
Exactly. I wanted to create stuff that was a bit more low-key and that people would actually wear. Now,
I dig that.
Everyone who comes on Superfan vs. Stapes gets a t-shirt and gets their choice of mug. We have 2 mug designs. You can have the classic Poker in the Ears logo, and it's a black mug with the logo on both sides.
Got it.
Or if you want to tap into not only a stream meme, but also a meme that starts off every single Superfan vs. Stapes quiz, you can have the Always Coming 7 mug.
Wow. That's cool. Yeah, I like that.
So black mug is Poker in the Ears. White mug is Always Coming 7. Now, there is one more piece of new exclusive merch. There aren't that many of these, and I think we'll have to save these for special occasions, Joe, and for special winners of special competitions. I have in my hands the special custom-designed Poker in the Ears deck of cards.
Open that MF'er up. I need to see what those cards look like.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay. They are, for the most part, very similar to the standard PokerStars deck of cards. So let me show you the card backs.
Oh, no,
So
it's got the
1 through
faces.
13.
Right? And if I just show you like a normal card, like for example, the Ace of Hearts. Let's have a look at, there's the 10 of clubs. So, you know, not pretty normal.
Okay.
There are 2 cards that are unique, Joe. There is the Jack of Hearts,
Let's go.
Ooh.
which is Joe Stapleton from the
Love
Poker in
that.
the Ears logo. And there is,
I am the Jack of Hearts.
somewhere, because he's dropped it, the Jack of Spades, which is James Hartigan, which I can't find right now. Well done, James. For the purpose of this
So
demonstration.
there's only, and that's because
There
James
it
and
is.
Joe
There it
are
is.
one of a kind. There he is.
There you go. So if you know the Poker in the Ears logo, you'll know that the Jack of Spades, the Jack of Hearts are J&J, James and Joe. So those 2 cards in the deck are unique. Yeah, so that is what we've had made. And that's what we'll be awarding in competitions. That's what we'll be awarding as prizes for people who come on Superfan versus Stapes. Yeah, I think it's pretty nice stuff. It looks good. It's stuff, as you say, Joe, I would wear and I would use.
It's pretty cool to finally be on a playing card in which my clothes are on. I've done the nude ones before, but finally having one, you know, a legit one is nice. They sold out, believe it or not. Those we ran out of those, but
I mean, and on that bombshell, I think it's high time that I took a break and sent you back to the final table in the company of Mr. Joe Stapleton and Mr. Nicholas Walsh. Enjoy the next 60 minutes, guys.
the fully clothed Joe Stapleton and Nicholas Walsh. 5 players remain. Tio Dennis, Pro Beers, European, Drew Dersh, and Future of Me, Joe Stapleton, Nicholas Walsh. Hello, my babies. Cards back in the air. Nick, what do you say we just put this to bed while James is on break? Is that possible?
All right, let's see it. Start cranking it, Joe. Maybe we'll get it done. But yeah, I mean, they're just so damn deep, Joe. There's so much more play left.
He's on break.
I don't know about you, Joe, but every time I see Drew Dersh, it just makes me think of Stan Dorsch. Stan Dorsch, Dorshy Dorsch.
There was a guy named Marsh, Luke Marsh, that played at PCA one year, and I just did Darsh nonstop. And he came up to me on one of the breaks, and I was like, oh, God. And he's like, oh, I love the Darsh thing. Don't stop.
Wow, I guess you think you're a real hot shot, don't you? Oh, sorry, Darsh. It is great. Yeah, that was one of the all-time good episodes for sure.
He
Dennis.
also sat on 2 chairs in Prague one year, and we called him the umpire because he was sitting way up above everybody else.
Yeah, it's a power play. You know, God, it's an alpha move. You know, 4-3 suited going to open up here from the button. Of course, Tio Dennis is like, I'm going to play every pot. Sure. Does he defend from Pro Beers 4-5 off?
Uncle Dennis is like all of our Uncle Dennis. He don't care. He don't care. Yo, so somebody during break while we were talking on the podcast was like, oh, is it worth downloading all of the episodes, or should I just start now? And the answer is really, it's up to you. I will say that the evolution of mine and James's lives over the years is kind of fun to take at rapid speed. And there are a lot of good bits over the years that we don't do anymore that I think are worth listening to. However, I do think that you can probably, we do such big gaps now in between episodes, like in between blocks of episodes, that you could probably just pick up anytime. But what I will say is this. It costs nothing to download all the episodes, and if you do, it kind of helps us out because every download sort of counts toward our ticker. So even if you're not planning on starting listening to the right away, if you just click subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever, the subscription helps us out a lot, regardless of whether or not you're going to listen to it, because it'll download the new episode every week. So even if you're just thinking about it, why not go for it? And I'm going to pick up the action here instead of shilling my podcast, because everyone's got a big piece of this flop.
Yeah, two players with top pair. Drew Darsh has 2 pair, though. And Pro Beers with the sort of weird bottom end of the gut shot. Obviously, a 9 is not a great card for him. Might be convinced to fold if it does come a king.
Wow, just top pair folds immediately. What a... How do they know?
If it does come a 9, I should say, not a king. But yeah, Queen 3 just gets out of the way, which is really interesting given the fact that Pro Beers here has like, you know, third pair here with the gut shot. I suppose he's expecting Drew to probably bet there pretty frequently. Does still have the gut shot as backup once in a while, but as I said, that 9 does complete the king straight. So a bit of a weird one. I don't think Queen 10 is folding, Joe. Just going to say it now, buddy.
I don't think it should. Am I allowed to say that?
I mean, he's not going to be up against Ace King too often. So he's probably extremely confident. That's not to say that Pro Beers can't have like 8-9 suited here once in a while, but you're just going to have the best hand here a lot of the time. I don't know if Pro Beers really ever has King 9 either that often. It's a bit of a weird, bit of an interesting pre-flop setup, which is going to dictate what kind of a range Pro Beers will have. It's very important in the game of poker to try and kind of learn some of these ranges so you can limit your opponents. I mean, it's so clean, Joe. Can he really fold Queen 10? Let's be real. No chance he can fold this. It's tough, though. It still sucks when you got it wrong, but I just think you're going to have the best hand way too often to fold with this kind of a run out.
What a daring play by Pro Beers.
Makes the call.
Does not work. Drew makes the call and doubles up through Andrus Namath. Namath obviously had Drew covered, so is not eliminated.
I mean, Joe, check, turn, check, river from Drew. There we go.
Awarding a hero call.
Okay. I feel like check, turn, check, river there by Drew is just really interesting and obviously really sells the sort of like misdraw, middle pair, weak top pair kind of setup and does absolutely convince Pro Beers to barrel off here. Drew now up to 2.6 million. Second chip leader. Nice call, Darsh. Nice work in vision. Love that. So a little bit of straighty, flushy action.
I know you didn't. I know you didn't grow up in America, Nick. Flush on the river for Uncle Dennis. I know you didn't grow up in America, but when I was a kid and we used to do like a sound effect for someone getting hit, we would go dish dish dish.
Sure. Yeah,
and that's more
what you're reading from that.
Yeah, Drew dish dish dish.
Yeah, I think
oh boy,
you know when we used to rough house with the cousins, that was the sound effect for sure. My American cousins. Yeah, I got a flush. It's a pretty well, sorry, I was going to say I thought it was larger size. I feel like with that sizing, you probably are going to raise with the clubs. Obviously, the clubs, club flush is going to be the best hand a lot when we in the game of Hold'em. Very infrequently do we go flush over flush in these scenarios.
And European, not really going to be able to do much here.
Yeah, he's got no blockers,
befuddled.
Joe. He's got no blockers.
Which is good.
Right, which means it's a lot easier to fold with your solo top pair situation.
Correct. I'm not really sure. I guess maybe the hero call is a potential here. I guess there's some busted straights. Obviously, we know the flush came in because Teo Dennis has got it. Maybe there's... I mean, are you ever turning some other hands into a bluff? Like, I don't know. Kings? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean,
What
so you
else
kind of
is-
want you
Nines?
want Teodenis.
Wow, Vujrin makes the call. And that is a hero fail. I think sometimes the heroes of online poker, European being one of them, are occasionally befuddled by playing against players who maybe aren't, they don't have as much experience with, we'll call, and maybe who just aren't as experienced in general.
Yeah, I mean, these guys completely capable of making plays in those scenarios, absolutely. And European obviously uses quite a small sizing on the river, so it does kind of open up or induce, some kind of an aggressive action on the river that might have been a bluff. You'd love for Teodenis just to have like the bear king of clubs there, but I guess a lot of the king of clubs in that scenario probably have a pair that they don't want to turn into a bluff on a later street, on the flop or the turn or whatever. But yeah, interesting spot for sure. European now down to 1 million. And yeah, quite the turnaround in just a few hands, Joe. Now Teodenis obviously increasing his chip lead and Drew getting the full double up to 2.6. Pretty significant swing since we've been back after break.
Drew the fairly weak bluff attempt there after getting counterfeited. Gets looked up by King High. Teodenis continues stacking chips, has over 4 million. Has anyone hit 4 million yet?
I believe this is the first 4 million stack that we've seen. What do you think, chat?
Top pair for Pro Beers. European now treading water like future of me. People are going to be circling, looking for that 12K bounty. Not the shortest stack, but the biggest bounty.
Hello, top pair.
A lefty asks, any famous players playing tonight? Yes, absolutely. Thank you for your question.
You're looking at him, buddy. Yes, TYFYQ. Maybe that should be the next mug pitch for merch, Joe. TYFYQ. Just on a mug.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you for your question. Man, that always coming 7 mug is dope. I mean, can you imagine taking that into the office and nobody knows what the hell you're talking about? You're just like rocking that mug. It's your own little inside joke that you share with you and thousands of people on Twitch, but absolutely nobody in your place of work.
As long as it gets Kelly from accounting to ask me about it, I don't care. I'm in.
Don't talk about Kelly like that, Joe. Kelly's my girl. Pocket 10's coming in with the 3-bet.
All right, here we go. Future me getting it in good. Has to fade the ace. Has to fade 2 spades. Does do that. Fades it all. Double up. Future of me. Teodenis gives $500,000 back. And now it is officially European who is at the bottom.
Oh, I love that. All right, guys. Full double. Oh, hello. Pocket 7's in the big blind. Not a ton of combinations that you're going to want to go for. You see how European changes his tactic very aggressively there. We've seen him playing a lot of buttons as one of the chip leaders. Now, as he's getting shorter down to just under 1 million, decides to fold queen deuce of clubs, which makes a lot of sense when you think about the bigger stacks to your left. In the small blind and the big blind, they're going to be really aggressive to try and win those bounties, obviously, and you're going to get 3-bet mercilessly as a bluff as well. Taking some of those weaker combos out of his opening range there as an adjustment, and this could get sticky, Joe. Wow. Top pair for European and Teodenis, excuse me, with the up and down straight draw 2 over cards again.
Pro Bears also with a straight draw.
Joe, if it comes in Ocho, man, that could be absolutely devastating. Can you imagine Teodenis just stacks both of them? 8 of diamonds on the turn would be absolutely savage. Just trying to figure out how to navigate.
European.
Yeah, He's thinking Pro Beers could have sets here, so he probably wants to flat. Yeah, I really like the flat from Tia Dennis. 5 diamonds, no change, European with a really, really good opportunity to continue barreling now, in my opinion.
Pro Beers gets out of the way. European probably recognizing this draw-heavy board. Lots of ways to have a 10 dominated here as well.
Might be tempted just to ship, Joe. Honestly, like, there's a lot of dangerous rivers. There it is.
Ship.
He is all in.
2 overs in a straight draw for $12,270. Now, Tio Dennis can't know that all of those outs are live, but we do.
Yeah. Joe, it's so close there. He's almost got exactly the right price to gamble if all of his outs are live, which is a huge if, right? Because if European just has the overpair, obviously you're just going to be looking for maybe one overcard in a straight draw or something like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in which case you just have the pure straight draw, right? So as good of a price as he got, I mean, I don't know, 12K is huge, though, in this tournament, Joe, right? 12K is still, you know, 7th place.
I'm not good enough to fold that.
I think
I'm also not good enough to hit the river.
once you got Pro Beers out of the way, who's probably the only one that's going to have, well, the player who's got you covered, who actually might have a set. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Honestly, you might catch a lot of people gambling there for the booty for sure, as the bounty daddy. And he would still have a pretty big chunk of change as well. It's not even like he'd be giving up, you know, his tournament life, or it's not even like he would be giving up, you know, one of the chip leads at least. But really, really, really interesting spot there for sure. I wonder about that one.
And we have got ace high versus a baby flush draw. Not Narub says 12K bounty. I snap call 6K, and I think I probably still call. Ace high takes one off. Is still the best hand of this 9 of diamonds on the turn. European probably looking for a spade on the turn, unknowingly.
Yep. Having the ace of spades in that scenario, very, very important. Obviously, ace high, blind v blind can be the best hand very frequently as well. Talk about this a lot, you know, when I'm doing my streams. Playing small blind versus big blind, button versus big blind, those ranges are so wide, and people need to understand that ace high is just very significantly showdown in many of these cases. Having a little bit of an added incentive of having the backdoor nut flush draw obviously tips you over the edge in many of those cases, just to try and take one off and, you know, see how it goes on a turn, maybe get some bluffs through on later streets, or just getting to showdown on paired boards and that kind of thing. Wow.
Uh-oh. What a flop here. Bring out the stretcher. 2 pair for Future of Me, 2 pair for European, but a much worse 2 pair. And Future of Me somehow does not have European covered, however.
Yeah, I like the larger size here, Joe. I don't think this is a situation where you're supposed to have too many smaller sizings. You want to really punish those straight draw, flush draws. Lots of those in the small blind here. Is Queen 10, King 10, obviously not the one you want to see, but 9, 10, Jack 10. A lot of those one pair straight draw things you're going to get a lot of value from, and obviously the flush draws as well. The 4 of diamonds is a ginormous brick. Just go big, buddy. Just really pump it in there.
Exactly the card you want to see if you're Future of Me. Kind of the card you want to see if you're European also.
Yeah. What about like 400K? What about like 400K? Okay. I'll take a 20K discount. That's fine.
European. Both players trying to size up for a pot-sized river bet.
I think he might just shove turn, Joe. Honestly, European wants to protect his hand at this point. I think. I don't know if there's that much value in flatting, because playing the river is really awkward if you flat and then it comes like something weird. Yeah, it's in.
Snap called and no 9. European nearly felted. Left with just a couple of big blinds, fewer than 2, I should say. And is all in with Queen 4 of diamonds.
Wow, Joe. Wow. He was doing so well. He got cold decked twice here, Joe. Two really, really sick cold decks to end Europeans run, but still a chip in a chair. A wise man once said.
I mean, everyone's got to be in this pot, right? Oh, we're looking for an ISO from Tio Dennis.
There's so much value in this pot. It's still 420K to play, though. Future of me. Can you imagine if he just peels and just like flops trips or something like that? It'd be absolutely sick. He makes the call, and he flops a flush draw on a king high board.
It's a 2-diamond flop, a pair for Tio Dennis, top pair, a pair for European, and the flush draw. And Future of me also with a worse flush draw can win a significant pot against Tio Dennis if the flush does come out. Tio Dennis betting
sick.
Huge.
This is absolutely disgusting, you guys. What a weird situation for the bounty, Bounty Daddy 12K.
How can you fold this if you're Future of me? You can't. And the flush on the turn. European is going to scoop the main pot. Future
Blockers
of
aren't
me
real.
has Tio Dennis drawing dead for the side pot.
Joe was
is
right.
massive.
They're not real. They're not real.
That's a great card for Tio Dennis to get out of the way. Not only is a diamond, it's also an ace.
Wow.
Future of me, you gotta just check this back, right?
No, I think you want to just protect the hell out of it now because Tio Dennis can still have sets and all kinds of stuff. I think you want to continue betting here for sure. I mean, you're going for value more than anything else, right? It's not just about protection, but Tio Dennis is going to try and do this super wide.
I mean, look, we know that two people can have flushes. I'm just like, what could Tio Dennis have here that he can pay you with after? But I guess plenty of aces are going to get spiked there.
Yeah, I mean, like
I'm letting the hold cards. The hold cards influence me a little too much here. You're right.
Well, but you remember how big he made it pre-flop, which obviously can just be him isolating a bounty, right? Which is very going to happen a lot. People like to do that. So his range is much wider than it would be if we were playing a regular speed tournament, of course. But then Future of me would never be in the pot in the first place. And he's going to win a chunky main pot here. Or in fact, it's the side pot, excuse me. 1.8 million going to Future of me. European gets the triple. A little bit more than a triple, in fact. But still 278K. Chip in a chair, Joe.
European, living the dream. All it takes is a chip in a chair. Looking for another double up here to keep the phrase I invented in 2014 alive. We just saw it happen in Barcelona. Will we see it happen again here in WCOOP?
Oh, Joe, can you imagine seeing that diamond? If you're sitting in Future of me's shoes, you see that diamond, you're looking at the 12K bounty, you're looking at all the chips in the middle. It's such a dreamy turn for him. Unbelievable turn of luck there. He didn't know how lucky he got until he saw the Queen 4 of diamonds at Showdown. Amazing stuff.
And Pro Beers now giving this a think. 12,000 on the line does, in fact, make the call out of the big blind. It's Jack 7-4, two spades. Top pair again for European. 82.9% to win the hand. Pro Beers with a spade draw now.
Oh,
and it is
no.
the 6-high spade flush that is going to eliminate European. Checks around for a third time, and Pro Beers collects a 12K bounty using only the 6 of spades.
Oh, my days, Joe. That's... Sorry, mate.
Samuel Voosden eliminated in 5th place. European finally whizzed on the electric fence. Eliminated in 5th place for 21,000. Plus, European actually made more money in bounties. 22,000 in bounties, 21,000 from the advertised payout for more than near enough $44,000 in total earnings today.
Just unreal stuff, Joe. Honestly, like imagine taking home a 12K bounty, a $12,000 knockout with the 6 of spades there. After Future of me makes a jack high flush, and he's like, "No, sorry, bro, you're no good. Sorry, I got a queen high flush." That's absolutely sick. Oh, then there were 4 at least.
That's right. We are down to the final 4. Pro Beers opening a 6 off suit. Raise and take it. So it's Uncle Dennis, T.O. Dennis, who is now the shortest stack and the biggest bounty, but only by a couple of bucks. And T.O. Dennis has ace-jack suited. We have 2 ace-jacks and a king-jack suited all out there right now. Pro Beers just folds ace-jack off. Future of Me, who has already got some money invested in this pot, not the biggest 3-bet either, does come along and flops top pair. 1 flush card for each of these players as well. And another flush card for Future of Me. Things keep getting better. T.O. Dennis drawing incredibly thin.
Yeah. I think T.O. Dennis probably recognizing the king high board is one that Future of Me is going to hit quite often when he defends versus 3-bet. Just doesn't want to put any more in the pot when his range has already been significantly narrowed down. And sure enough, taking that pot.
Future of Me up to 3.7 million. And you're right, Nick. Despite the fact that action's been pretty fast and furious, these folks are all pretty deep. Even when Pro Beers was short, not before, you know, he had just, not Pro Beers, excuse me, when European was short, not when he had just had 2 big blinds, but before that, still had like 18, 19 big blinds, even though it felt very short, really wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I think also as commentators, we're kind of used to a certain pace. You know, when we see those big pots go down, we're like, okay, so this guy's on life support. But even when we saw, even when we saw him turn top set against the straight, you know, and taking a huge hit, still had, you know, a ton of big blinds there, and still a huge stack to try and wield in future pots. Flush draw for Tia Dennis here against the 5s with the 5 of spades blocker.
I still can't believe Andrus Namath wins that 12.2K bounty with the 6 of spades.
Yeah, pretty amazing stuff. And I mean, you see how that 12K bounty just skews so much of the action, right? If you'd Future of Me, never been in this pot ever, you know, if it was only for like 2K or 3K or whatever, when he turned the flush with the jack high flush draw, you know, same thing for Pro Beers, probably never in this pot once Tio Dennis tries to isolate him with a king. But you got to be aware of that, right? That's why we love covering these ones, because there's just such a different level of thinking that comes into it versus just a regular freeze out. Or a regular speed tournament.
Flush on the river. And 5s are given this, I think. Seems like there's plenty to fold to. Does not fold. Decides to put in a raise. It is a paired board. It is against an 8 high flush. Nope. Tio not buying it at all. Snaps off that. I'd say it was an odd line to take with 2 5s. A bit of an odd line from Drew Derge.
Yeah, nice bluff, Darsh. I don't know. It's these are interesting spots. I mean, there's one thing we've learned tonight, guys. Blockers aren't real. 5 of spades. Don't turn it into a bluff. No, I appreciate the heart, though, from Drew, and obviously I think that's going to be fine. You know, I think it's going to work enough for that to be okay, but running into the made flush with the blocker doesn't feel great. Little blind v blind action here. Ace-Jack. So 40 big blinds effective, Joe? Something like that at the moment?
For Drew, yeah. Just over
right.
40.
And gonna come in with a little Trapperino Ace-Jack off, blind v blind. I think continuing turn makes a lot of sense. Again, these larger sizes are kind of called for when you are on the deeper side, right? You want to have larger sizes to try and deny players from continuing withdrawals where they have more implied value that they can glean on rivers once they get there. And also you want to have larger sizes so you can build bigger pots when you're deeper, where you need to put more in the flop and the turn in order to get there in an honest way, going to the river size.
Moran says blockers are real. 5 of spades, not a real blocker. That's a very Moranic statement, if I've ever heard one. Thank you for your comment. Pocket sixes for FOM. FOM. Geo Dennis with King 10 suited.
I'm thinking about playing some poker in Ireland soon, Joe. Maybe the end of this month.
Why Ireland?
I love playing with the Irish. Actually, I've got a couple of friends who are already going to an event, and I was thinking about tagging along. But my experience of playing poker in Ireland is usually overwhelmingly positive. It's good crack, as they say.
It's good crack. It is good crack over in Ireland. I don't know if I've ever played poker there, but I've had nothing but good times in that country.
Yeah. Obviously, future of me representing the Irish flag.
My girlfriend has an Irish passport. Do you think I should move to Ireland?
Does she really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's usually a good setup. Can be expensive in places, but otherwise I hear good things.
She's got Ireland, Canada. Thinking about
Wow, that's
maybe mixing some things up a little bit.
Do it, buddy. That sounds great. Yeah, I don't see why not.
T.O. Dennis with his foot on the gas, heading for a brick wall. Pocket sixes just stationing. Does T.O. empty the clip?
I don't know. He's like, yeah, check. T.O. Dennis down to 1 million chips, you guys.
Way to keep the faith with pocket sixes. Future of me closing in on 5 million. And T.O. Dennis is just jamming pocket threes over the open from future of me. It's probably going to get through.
Got the trays. Still a 10K bounty though, you guys. That call can definitely get a little bit wide to try and win the T.O. Dennis booty.
I just have to do some research on which country has the best brony scene, because I'm afraid once I move out of the greater Los Angeles area, it'll be hard to find brony friends.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, yeah, at this rate, your pool's going to dry up anyway, right, Joe? So you might as well head out.
Find some bronies with brogues. Future of me raising 2 pair. And Pro Beers is like, why you do this?
Why you do this?
Oh my goodness! Everyone is just giving chips away to Future of me right now.
Wow, this is really dreamy. I think you can just flat though. You're in position. You want him to continue barreling here. Yeah, I really like the flat. 5 of hearts doesn't really change anything, but it does obviously give Pro Beers that flush draw.
Are you going to make the 6? Are you going to make the heart here? Excuse me.
Oh, man.
323,000.
There you go. Rip it in.
Shove from Future
Let's go.
Me. And Pro Beers is going to have to lay it down. Future of me up to 5.7 million. Pro Beers and T.O. Dennis, now the 2 shortest stacks, hovering around 30 big blinds each. And despite everyone playing deep, they're not afraid to get the chips in. Caputo says, you need to be more patient with the viewers, Joe. Not really. You banned. Thank you for your comment.
Oh man, I'm so glad we made that thing a bit. That's awesome. Okay, blind v blind action here. 7-6 versus the dominating Jack 6 off here. Okay, Ace 9 is definitely going to be a trap here. Sorry,
64 seconds. Don't worry about it. No, it's okay. I'm not. You. Let's focus on the real thing here. The WCOOP.
Pro Beers is all in. He's all in. He's definitely all in. Okay, that's good. Good little read there.
Come on, 10K bounty.
Easy 10K limb shove. Easy game, buddy. Yeah, I think King 7 is pretty much approved, though. Future of Me definitely wants to be raising and trying to win some bounties there for show. Blind v blind. We could see some action here with the Ace King in the small blind, of course. Creepy Dan says getting banned by Joe is on my bucket list. All right, I'm going to ban you just to prove a point. It's not official. That was a Nick Walsh ban.
It was just a warning shot across the bow.
A warning shot across the bow.
Raising pocket fives. King
You get
Jack
a little taster.
For Uncle Dennis. And Drew with ace 4. Uncle Dennis is just going to jam the King Jack. And we're racing. Uncle Dennis hits a jack. There's a 5 on the turn, though. And that's it. It's lights out for Uncle Dennis. My goodness. We talked about folks not being super short. This could go on for a while, but it's been pot after pot being shipped in the direction of Future of Me, who's up to 6.8 million now. Drew and Pro Beers are relatively short, around 30 bigs each. Blinds are about to go up in 3 minutes, but let's cover the prize money for T.O. Dennis, who played with the heart of a lion.
Wow.
But now ended up like the one that the dentist killed. 27,000 in payouts, 19,000 in bounties. So about, we're looking at 48K. For
Whew,
Dennis.
let's go. That was a pretty good time to turn a set, guys. What do you think? Feels good when you're just winning 10K with pocket fives, right?
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that. That was an extra 10K going straight to Future of Me.
Yeah. He's having a good little wrap up here, guys. We're three-handed, Joe. This is where the real poker starts.
I like Concert Tiempo here. It says, Future of Me is past of you.
Oh, man.
Now, it looks like another significant pot is about to go the way of Future of Me.
I love you to his chat. Got a little AJ here. Oh my days.
Okay,
This
interesting.
is a very, very cool little change of gears here from Future of Me. Really starting to turn the screws on these guys. He's just wielding that 7 million chip stack, like not messing around, guys. Don't forget, in 1 minute's time, blinds will be 25K, 50K. So we're definitely getting into the stage where it's gonna get a little bit like a spin and go here, Joe. We're getting into spin and go territory at these stack depths three-handed.
This feels pretty foldable. Future Me is in position. I just don't know what sorts of hands Rue is going to be risking their entire stack with this sort of money on the line. And this is another trap situation from Pro Beers. Limp, trap, shove. Taste it, Future of Me. Taste my limp trap. Queen deuce for FOM. Drew with 8-9. Misses. Bottom pair for Fom.
Top pair for Pro Beers.
Pro Beers. Yep. That's a teeny tiny, just one big blind. Queen 10 peels, and it's a pair of queens on the turn. Not good news for Pro Beers. And Pro Beers not slowing down, betting bigger relative to the size of the pot here on the turn. Probably not expecting Drew to have caught this queen.
Yeah, I always think that in these situations, Queen X, Jack X, those are always really awkward turns because there will be some floats with Queen X, you know, Queen Jack, Queen 10, King Queen, that kind of thing a lot of the time. But I think it is probably correct to bet flop bet turn, though, just because you're never quite sure. There's still other stuff that you're going to be beating that you want to get value from. So it makes sense to put in 2 barrels there. Pro Beer's now down to 1.2 mil.
Here comes Pro Beer's third attempt at limp trapping. There's the limp, there's the trap, and this time gets Future of Me snagged in the net. Future of Me does not connect. Double up Pro Beers.
Yep. I think that's pretty standard, Joe, right? Like, I mean, Future of Me definitely could be getting it in there against a smaller pocket pair. You know, anything, you know, eights or smaller, you're absolutely loving life. And even if you get it completely wrong, worst case scenario, you're dominated. You're going to have, you know, usually about 30% equity unless he has exactly aces, which is pretty difficult when you got an ace in your hand. So I think the raise stack with ace 9 is so standard when it's for a 10K bounty here. You know, you're still looking at those pay jumps for first, second, third. Still a really significant sum, and as I said, I think you're going to have equity against a lot of traps there for sure to justify. Dominated now, King 8 versus King 10. Sorry, Joe, I keep talking to everybody. The delay is long today.
It's all good. Future of Me is betting, firing 60K in here, slightly over the minimum. Called by King High, a worse King High. Forka111, first time chat, asks, buy-in? Yes, there was a buy-in for this. I appreciate the question. Thank you. And this hand is headed for a chop if we get to showdown.
I mean, Future of Me ever try and get value from like Queen High here? Definitely a possibility. These are the kinds of boards where blind v blind King High is potentially value bettable if you really think your opponent is going to have some lower high cards. Check, check.
This hand ends in a chop, and you know what they say, Nick.
Everyone loves a chop pot. Now, I know there's like a 4-second delay today, so I think that was going to be close.
Pocket jacks for Drew. Let's just move on. Future of Me opening King 9 suited.
All right, yeah.
And here comes jacks with the re-raise. King 9 makes the call, just hits a diamond. Dream flop for Drew. Drew continuing for about a third of the pot. Pretty tempting, yeah, to peel one off here. Future of Me does make the call. 8 of spades on the turn, so Future of Me with a straight draw now. Probably would have preferred the 8 of diamonds. But again, a pretty sweet turn for jacks. I guess you just try to get it all with a 10 right now against the 10, Nick?
Yeah, it's as long as you're aware of the fact that the 8 of spades is one of those really interesting cards where it completes some 2 pairs, you know, it completes some weird, really awkward, you know, gut shot straights and stuff like that. I think it's okay when you've got jacks specifically because you're blocking quite a few of those weird straight draws or potential straight draws. So I think you just go, you try and get the value right then and there. You might be more likely to check behind, you know, some weaker top pairs or something like that, but probably barreling twice is going to be fine no matter what.
Nom 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 nom.
Snow men's. Snow wins.
Snow wins.
Ooh, here we go. Here we go. Couple of 10s for Future of Me.
Got a
King
couple
10
of 10s there.
Beers.
Couple of 10s.
Ace, Queen 8, 2 spades. Pro Beers does not hit his overcard, but Future of Me ain't gonna like this.
Oh, hello, the turn set.
Oh boy. The Case 10 making an appearance on the turn. And Pro Beers does improve. And pocket 10s overbets and just gets an easy fold. King Queen suited for Pro Beers. Ace deuce for Future of Me. You ever re-raise this, Nick? Is this a re-raising spot?
I feel like Ace Deuce is definitely a potential 3-bet for sure. I think maybe given the fact that Drew is on the shorter side here, though, you want to play it more slowly. So it's going to be you're going to flat, you're going to 3-bet. I think either one's going to be fine. They're probably not that dissimilar in value as well in terms of EV.
Ace on the turn. All but has this locked up for Future of Me. Pro Beers needs to make a straight now. Does bet anyway. Hoping to fold out all of those non-ace hands.
Yeah, I mean, you know, given the flat pre, your opponent will have slightly fewer ace combos here. Although at this stack depth, you know, they're going to have a lot more flats with ace combos than they would if we were like 14 big blinds effective, where a lot of those would just be 3-bet jams. What a run out for King Queen.
King Queen drills the nuts. Like a great submission to America's Funniest Home Videos. And gets some value on the river. Pro Beer's up over 3 million again. And 3 playable hands. Pro Beers raising with the worst of it. Pro Beers dominated by Drew, who's dominated by Future of Me, and Future of Me is just going to take it down with a little pre-flop elbow grease.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for Drew to, you know, really accumulate chips if Pro Beers and Future of Me just keep going at it like this, right? As soon as there's a raise and a 3-bet, it's so difficult to enter pots. If you're not playing pots, it's really difficult to aggregate chips in Drew's position.
Let's see here. Of the 3 remaining players, my guess is that Pro Beers is going to be the most experienced. 3-time WCOOP champion already, so going for number 4. Drew has results hidden, although I think we'd know if they had a WCOOP. Future of Me has a WCOOP and a Scoop title, so, you know, probably not far behind experience-wise behind Pro Beers. Drew, a bit of a mystery.
Yep, absolutely. Everybody loves the pro beers.
And Pro Beers and Drew Douche going to the flop here. Second pair for Drew. Pretty tough to get away from this for one bet. Does not. 7 on the turn. Gut shot draw for Pro Beers now.
Yeah, gut shots can be used as continuation cards here. Pro Beer is not one to shy away from putting in some aggression when he picks up a little bit more equity. I think we're probably going to see a continuation. There it is. Does decide to put in a chunky old bet here. Just about 3/4 pot, something like that.
Folding a jack seems a lot more appealing now. Doesn't fold, stationed. Pro Beer is with a 6 on the river now, pair of 6s. It doesn't really feel like one of those I can check back for showdown value 6s, though, does it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact it's a diamond is what makes it particularly tricky to want to continue barreling. But, you know, who knows? Whatever Pro Beers does is correct. I think once you have the showdown, you can still beat, you know, 9-10, king-10, that kind of thing. So it's enough, but like you say, Joe, you're not feeling great about it, right? There are certain situations where you bet, and it comes really, really clean, and you're like, you know, third pair is probably fine here. But in that scenario, not so much.
So Drew making a bit of a comeback now at the expense of Pro Beers.
You know, king 6 off there, he might even consider limp and then raising versus the really aggro Pro Beers, but you know, also I think limp folding is fine as well. There might be some better combinations than king 6, but like I said, when you got those like sort of trashy high card combos, a lot of the time they want you to sneak in a couple of those, you know, limp raise bluffs to balance out the times when you might do that with, you know, aces or kings or something like that too, if that indeed is part of your playbook.
Pro Beers putting in the chips. King Queen suited, tough to get away from. Tough to fold.
Super high value. Super high value here. I think he's going to call at least, Joe. Oh, look at the flop. It's absolutely glorious.
Quite glorious. Top pair and a flush draw. Do you think that top pair and a flush draw was like that used to happen way more, like maybe 5-6 years ago? I feel like I don't see it that much anymore. And I feel like I used to see it all the time. Kind of like white dog poop. Used to see it all the time. Like 10, 15 years ago. And now almost never.
Are you talking about your own personal experience here, Joe, or just, you know, just in poker in general?
Yeah, personally. No, I don't see a lot of white dog poop on poker streams, ever. Hey, and the flush comes in. This is the day for flushes. Pro Beers with the ace of diamonds.
Ugh.
Will
you know these guys love
get into trouble?
I was going to say, you know these guys love to rep the flush or the ace, right? Future of me just makes the bet here.
He'll still have a chance to rep it.
He will. You're absolutely right. There's definitely going to be a bet here.
Oh, no, will not have a chance to rep it. No chance to rep it. Pro Beers. Just won't probably eat too much into the time bank here.
Yeah, it's hard for him to bluff at this point when he's when he can only call all in. Tricky.
There's the fold. Snoozy on YouTube writes in the same respect for all three of these dudes. My anxiety would get the best of me instantly. I appreciate it, but there's only 2 of us. Oh, you mean me, James, and Nick? I got it. Thank you. I think it's probably more about the players right now than me, James, and Nick, but I understand. It really doesn't, it's not, look, I used to have anxiety, not that much anymore. Nick, obviously, he's a natural. James, I don't really think gets anxiety, but I understand that a lot of people, if you put yourself into our shoes, you might feel anxious. You might feel kind of weird about it. But really, we're just experienced at this point. That's it. It's just practice. It's just 10,000 hours. But thank you for your comment.
Peter Stapleton said I was a natural. I made it. I made it, guys.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is a straight for Pro Beers.
Straight with a blocker.
And a longer straight. A 6-card straight. Yep. Had to go to my second hand. That means it's a 6-card straight.
There's got to be some more value here. There it is. Nice and chunky.
Oh, yeah. 2
And
pair.
a call.
Easy. Yep.
Nice.
And yeah. Pro Beers continuing to hover around the 2 million mark.
Hey, Joe, Malo in the chat here asking, have you ever organized a poker game with other casters? Yes, actually. There was a really cool one we did with a bunch of celebrities as well. Was it Shoot for the Stars, Raise? What was it, Joe? Do you remember this one?
The Stars Call for Action?
Call for Action. Thank you very much. We played with a bunch of like legit A-list celebrities. That was a really cool thing we did with a bunch of other.
We did a
casters
caster one once though for charity. I think wasn't it me and you and Maria and James and.
There's been a few.
I can't remember who won it. I feel like someone really crushed it, like just embarrassed everyone else. I might need to think about it during the break. We are headed into the break. 4 players remain. Future of me out in front. Excuse me, 3 players remain. Dodo. It's threads up poker. 3 players remain. Future of me has as many chips as the other 2 players combined and then some. But when it's threads up poker, I like to have a threads up commentator booth. Let's welcome James Hardigan back into the mix.
It's funny you guys were just discussing the commentator showdown because my standout memory of that was Nick having to wear these ridiculous goggles, which made everything look like a kaleidoscope, and Nick could legitimately not make out any cards and was literally just clicking buttons and hoping for the best. And I think there's a screenshot, Nick, of you wearing those goggles, and you look like you're from some cyberpunk movie.
Yeah, I look like I'm something like out of Mad Max or something like that. I look like the guy who's playing the guitar on the back of like the Mad Max vehicle, whoever that guy was.
So
but,
yes,
yeah, no,
you
that
look
was
like someone from the not too distant future, basically.
yeah, I exactly. It's pretty cool. That was a funny pod as well because I remember we were playing with Sam Grafton and he made this really good bluff on the river. I legit couldn't even see what was going on. I was trying to squint through this kaleidoscope, made the hero call, and then probably could blame about was it a hero call, or could I just not make out the fact that there was a flush on the river? I'm not
Probably
entirely
not.
certain.
Probably not. I'm amazed you can remember any hands from that. I just remember, irrelevant details. Nick, I do want to talk to you during this break about what you've got planned during WCOOP. You're often streaming on the PokerStars Twitch channel all manner of different games. Now, I imagine that the World Championship of Online Poker is going to be your primary focus. Obviously, you're part of the coverage tonight. You're going to join us for main event coverage as well. But we should highlight that in addition to the Cards Up live stream, starting next Monday, we've got some final table replays of some of the events that we're not covering live. Now, in the past, those have mainly been non-Hold'em games. But because we're doing live coverage of some non-Hold'em games, some of the Hold'em games are becoming final table replays, and you're working on some of those.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got, these sort of like these main ones where we're doing, WCOOP final tables, but I'm also going to be involved in some of the Hold'em-based replays that we're going to be doing in the week as well. I will be backing off on my usual stream schedule if you guys do enjoy those during the week, because of course the focus is WCOOP, both for you guys at home and both for a lot of the other streamers who are maining the MTTs. So I'm going to be trying to play like a lot more of WCOOP this year. I'm trying to get back into like playing more MTTs, where you guys know my focus has been on sit and goes, etc. But I will be playing live on stream on Fridays. So if you guys want your spin and go fix, I'll be putting in 4 or 5 hours every Friday, just in case you wanted to do something with your Friday sort of afternoons. I know a lot of you out there use me as your excuse not to get work done, and I love to be part of the procrastination process. So you guys can catch me from midday on Fridays, or hit me up on social media. I'll let you guys know when I'm going live as well.
Well, Friday is a good day to focus on something outside of WCOOP, Nick, because I believe Fridays is the rest day. It's something we introduced back in 2020, and it's now become a staple of the schedule. There's a day when nothing takes place, so it's a good opportunity to do something a bit different and focus on a game other than the MTTs, which, you're right, are just dominating everyone's consciousness for the rest of this month. Obviously, you can check out ahead of time which replay event is on air in the hours leading up to our Cards Up coverage. Mason, GJ also part of that as well. And as we mentioned earlier, Mason is effectively replacing you, Nick, on a couple of the streams. Because we're focusing on PLO 8 and 8 game for the next 2 Tuesdays, we are going to give ourselves a slice of pie on these live streams and get Mason to, I guess, Joe, teach us what the hell is going on.
Yeah, I don't know if teach is the right word because, you know, teach implies learning happening on the other end, but at least speak in our direction with some new words we haven't heard before.
Yeah, and I think we have to understand that there will be a lot of people watching these streams. I hope there's a lot of people watching these streams who probably don't understand the rules. So I don't want to dumb it down. And I don't want people who play mixed games, who know PLO 8 back to front or play 8 game regularly, not to get something out of it, but do understand that we do have to tailor the broadcast to as big an audience as possible. And the vast majority of our viewers don't really know anything other than Hold'em. So we are going to be leaning into Mason to provide a bit of a beginner's guide, but also provide some top analysis as someone who has won a mixed games title recently, won a scoop, I think it was last year, and has made day 2 of the horse today. Let's get back to the final table of the event we are covering tonight. 3 players remain in this 5K PKO high roller, and it is future of me. It is Alex Kulev playing from Ireland, who has the chip lead right now over Drew Derge from Ukraine and Andras Namath, Pro Beers from Hungary.
Look, James, I dumb down Hold'em for the audience. I make it so that the audience can understand my high level understanding. I make it so that normal people can understand it. I'm sure Mason can do the same for mixed games.
Mark Zutkov asking an interesting question on YouTube. I'm curious about the women's event. How do you ensure such entries in an online event? This is not the first women's event that PokerStars has run. It's not perfect, Mark, but when you open a PokerStars account, you can assign your gender. So anyone who has basically said, tick the F box when they open their PokerStars account will be eligible to play. There will be some players, not who've ticked the wrong box, but who choose not to express a preference. So if that's the case, there might be female players who didn't declare their gender who won't be eligible. So as I said, it's not perfect, but generally speaking, it's not bad as a way of ensuring that it is an event designed specifically for female players.
When I signed up, when it asked me what my sex was, I checked the box that said, yes, please.
Oh, the old Austin Powers gag.
You can't hear me, but I'm laughing a lot. I'm just muted.
Danger is my middle name. Well,
wow. Winning this 8 high, going to be great.
High is the best hand. I mean, obviously, Drew had the best draw, but when the river bricks out, to see that 8 high is winning. And bluffing with the best hand. Ace Queen versus Ace Queen.
Oh.
Yeah, I feel like this is probably a trap here from Drew. Drew Darsh.
Douche, douche, douche.
Douche, douche, douche. He's going to douche him up. There it is, the 40 big blind rip and a call.
And
seems a bit safe.
We know where this is going. Oh, full house for both players. It is a chop pot. And gentlemen, you know what they say. Everyone loves a chop pot.
Everyone loves a chop pot.
Oh my God, that could be one of the worst, is the sentence that I've just had said to me by the producer.
Oh, man. It's hard, you guys. There's a huge delay. Oh, man. 2 pair for future of me. It goes for the check raise. Takes it down.
Although I do approve of the fact that most of the audience seem to be blaming Joe. I'm not 100% convinced it was Joe's fault, but whatever. Yeah, it's all Joe.
I was caught a little unawares, I will admit, on that time. Also, I just like using the word unawares.
You've caught me unawares.
Sounds like underwears.
All right. We got Drew with the gut shot here on the turn, guys. Might decide to turn the queen into like a semi-bluff for Rooney.
Just realized that even though obviously RoboCup has become a staple of these streams, I do need to start mixing it up and do need to start showcasing the Poker in the Ears mug and the Always Coming 7 mug. So for the rest of the series, I will make sure that they get some screen time as well.
Ooh, baby, look at these hands.
Yeah.
It's weird how much less appealing Queen Jack suited is to King Queen suited.
I think interesting to note the larger 3-bet size here from Ace-10. Obviously, being out of position, he wants to add a little bit more tax. It's a really good flop for Queen Jack, though, obviously with backdoor diamonds, too. I feel like Drew probably wants to continue here quite often, and I think he should go about 1/4. So, I approve of the 200K bet here. I think that's pretty much spot on GTO. Queen Jack probably should always just have a flat in this scenario.
Yeah, and Future of Me now has 93% equity on the turn. By the way, I don't take any of the negative feedback on the chop pot performance personally, but this is just objectively wrong. UK Most Hated says you guys need Maria to show you how it's done. I love Maria Ho, and I think she brings so much to this broadcast, but when it comes to chop pot sung, she's the not low. I'm sorry.
I agree.
She is not great at the chop. You know what I think it is with Maria? I think it's that she's considers herself such a good singer that she does not want to participate. Like, she throws it on purpose because she's like above it.
I'm So Harmony says worse than Sam. Now that is a pretty, Sam sets the bar pretty low as well when it comes to the song.
Yeah, I mean, Grafton barely shows up anymore for these streams, so I wasn't really including him.
Oh, man. All right, we got a little second pair, top pair scenario. We've spoken about this a lot, guys. Obviously, when we're playing short-handed, having second pair is a very, very strong hand when you're playing with these wider ranges, and especially against aggressive opponents who will barrel the queen-high board as a bluff very often. It's just really, really difficult not to lose a significant amount of chips when you make second pair versus top, just because you're going to be winning so often. So you're kind of handcuffed to actually calling twice unless you really have a solid read here. Let's see if Future of Me can get away from the turn. I think it probably is incorrect to do so, to be honest, just because there will be so many combinations that want to bet this turn, as a semi bluff, or indeed just as an absolute barefaced bluff. The larger size does get the fold from Future of Me, so that was actually a nice fold there from second pair. A lot easier when your opponent sizes up so significantly.
Yeah, we got Ace-5 raising the button, Ace-Queen suited in the small blind for the chip leader. Re-raises to 375,000. Pro Bears in position with this small ace, folds. Eagle-Eyed Joe 007 says, that's unfair, James. Maria is not here to defend herself. Do you know what else isn't fair? You're banned.
Oh, wow. A rare James Hardigan ban. Woo.
Bye-bye.
Fair's got nothing to do with it.
Gamer is asking if it would be allowed for Spraggy and Tonka to play different tournaments on the same stream. There's probably a way that we could make that happen, but you have to understand the ego on both Spraggy and Tonka is such that they would never share that traffic under any circumstances. They would remain on their own streams. No, I'm sure they'd be willing to do that. I'm just playing. But,
I mean, we had Parker join us last night to do guest commentary on Spraggy's final table. And when Spraggy invited him to stay in his house, Tonka had to sign a very long agreement about all of the things he can and can't do to make sure that he doesn't conflict with Spraggy's viewership. And, you know, these broadcast deals sometimes take years to hammer out and negotiate. Pro Bears bluffing the river with just 10 high. Ace high is the best hand.
All right.
Bluff gets through. So we still have a situation where Future of Me, Alex Kulev, has the chip lead, close to 6 million chips, and Drew and Pro Bears are pretty much tied on 2 million apiece.
It's been like this for a while. We might need some to wait out the blinds a little while.
Well, blinds are going to go up in 3 minutes. I can't remember if we've reached the stage of this tournament where the blinds go to 30 minutes. So if anything, this is going to slow down.
Oh.
Yeah, as I mentioned, though, already, we're still kind of in that zone where lots of interesting things can happen three-handed. Obviously, Pro Beers is stacked up a bit more now, but going into the 25K, 50K level, we were at about 30 big blinds effective, so not that dissimilar from sort of spin and go territory where there is a lot of sort of three-betting all in, limp shoving, blind v blind, that kind of thing. So there's plenty of opportunities for players to get cold decked. And on this river, I don't want to call it a cold deck, but both players have the same hand with a slightly better kicker for Drew.
So Drew now officially in second place. Pro Beers officially third, just shy of 2 million. And it's blind v blind. King 4 versus King 3. The complete from Andrus Namath.
Yeah, Future of Me hasn't shied away from these spots, and obviously having those high cards, he's definitely taken some raise versus limp scenarios, but here before. Again, Pro Beers could have a limp raise here with King 4 off as well. It's not completely unreasonable to have some weaker balancing limp raise bluffs as well as limp raising with some stronger stuff as well. Interesting turn here, though. Obviously, both players going to chop this a lot, but the 3 of diamonds could give Future of Me the made flush.
And obviously Pro Bears here with 2 pair has a 3-1 advantage over Future of Me. Bets 88.5 into 118. And now it will be a chop with that 10 on the river, counterfeiting kings and 4s. We might get a shot of redemption. This is a chop pot. And you know what they say? Everyone loves a chop pot. It got good at the end. Thank you, Simon Cowell.
I'm sorry, James. I didn't like it. I loved it.
We're going to bring back.
All right, Pro Beers. All right, Pro Beers. Show them what you're made of here. Put in the 3-bet, buddy. Show them what you're made of. Defends the king 5 instead. Fair play.
I think the audience is just taking pity on us now. We're getting some 10 out of 10s, which was definitely not that.
Guys, I'm doing it. I'm going to WhatsApp Maria Ho and ask for tips.
Oh, God. You know she's not to be contacted on her day off.
Yeah, I suddenly realized that. So I put the phone back down again. We have got a pair of 3s here for Future of Me. Just to clarify, we know that Future of Me has a WCOOP title, won a 7 max event last year. We know that Andres Namath has 3 WCOOP titles, 2 from 2020 and 1 from last year. I don't know if Drew Dirge is a former WCOOP champion. I don't think so.
I feel like even if you hide your results, if you're a WCOOP champion, we'd remember, right?
Yeah,
No.
but it depends how long ago it was. It's really, really hard to dig up this information sometimes. You know who we need to activate? We need to activate Howard Swains.
Howard Swains.
Well, Drew has not been able to muscle his way into a fold here.
Wow, a little blocker bet there on the river. Wow.
I would love if this went from blocker bet to induction bet.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Like the block raise snap off with 8th pair.
Blinds are up, and we are now on the 30-minute blind levels. And StatTrick confirms Drew Dirge is not a WCOOP champion. So Drew going for their first title. Future of Me going for WCOOP number 2. Pro Beers going for number 4.
Number 2.
Pair of 5's the best hand here.
Ooh, nice turn for Ace Jack.
Yeah, pair of 5's no longer the best hand. Ace Jack bets 234. Wins the pot. Ace Queen suited on the button. And
Might see a
Ace
shove here from Pro Beers.
8 suited. Well, if he shoves, Nick, this is going to get cold. And it's a domination situation. And it's looking bad for Pro Beers. Andres Namath is KO'd. And we are going heads up. The biggest bounty claimed by the chip leader. Namath cashing out for 36K plus 19 grand in bounties. And now we are heads up. Huge chip lead for Alex Kulev, who is a firm favorite to win this. And let's just work out what they're playing for, guys. 13-6, 4K. That's 17,500. Multiply it by 2. This is a 35K heads-up battle between these two.
Well, it's a good start for Drew.
Yeah, we are about 30 big blinds effective here, guys. So like I said, still a lot of aggressive pre-flop actions happening at this effective stack depth, according to GTO. And this really, at this point, could just boil down to a flip. Future of Me can afford to take a few, so
yeah,
see how we get on now.
Pair of 6s versus the club draw. Practically a flip right now. Make that trip 6s for Future of Me.
Oh, boy.
Come on, the lead. Where's the lead?
There you go.
Oh, wow.
Overbet.
The overbet lead. Damn. That is aggro. Wow. Gets rewarded.
I really do. There's a bit confused by that final bounty. Just to clarify, when you win, when you knock out the person in second, you keep your own bounty as well, which has been kind of progressing over the course of this progressive knockout. And that means how you calculate what that final prize is worth. It's the 2 bounties on screen added together multiplied by 2. That's how you arrive at around $35,000. That will be the difference in prize money between first and second. The advertised payout, of course, being the same, $53,464.
Or you could multiply them each by 2 and add them together.
Yeah, you can do it that way as well. Variety is the spice of life, right? Pocket fours, the sailboats on the button. Ace-Jack suited for future of me. The button raise. Are you insinuating a coin flip, Joseph?
Let's go, baby.
There's the re-raise with Ace-Jack.
Flip you for real.
Yep, it's got to be a shove from the fours.
Are fours going to respond?
You got to shove.
There it is, and the call, and we're off to the races. And there's a jack on the flop. And it is over. The final KO as Drew Dirge is eliminated in second, and future of me, Alex Kulev, wins this 5K PKO high roller, cashing in first place for a total of, wait for it, $113,572. 60K of that was bounties. Drew Dirge, the runner-up, $59,189. Not much more than Pro Beers. Andrus Namath, who cashed out in third for 55 grand. Another PKO in the books, another WCOOP trophy presented, and one more day of Cards Up coverage to come this week. So Nick, what's next for you? Will it be the Spin and Go stream on Friday?
Yeah, so Spin and Go stream on Friday, and then at some point next week, I think I might have a replay. I have to check my schedule, but as per usual, guys, hit me up on social media, and I'll let you guys know about when all that is going down. But I'll probably just see you guys on Friday for midday back here on PokerStars Central for some more spin action, if that's your bag.
Nick will be on the PokerStars Twitch channel on Friday. Joe, you and I will be back on Twitch and YouTube tomorrow at the same time, 6 p.m. UK time, 7 p.m. Central European time. Griffin will be joining us, Joe, for a non-PKO event. It'll be a standard No Limit Hold'em tournament. I say standard, it is a 10K buy, and it's the $10,000 Super Tuesday High Roller. Are you super pumped?
I'm super pumped. Griffin is the unicorn, and having an event that's not a PKO is also a unicorn. So a 2-unicorn stream.
So we will be back tomorrow. I hope you can join us then. Thank you for joining us this evening. For now, from Nick Walsh, from Joe Stapleton, and me, James Hartigan, it is good night from the PokerStars Arena.